Chapter 128. As soon as Zhao Zhongqin's voice fell, Lin Momo slapped the table and said angrily, "The Jade Gang is engaged in drug trafficking instead of doing proper business. Qin Haodong helps the police to solve the case, which is to eliminate evil for the people. How can we hand over such a person to the Jade Gang?" At this time, Zhao Zhongqin had no other scruples. He cried tit for tat, "Drug trafficking is the business of the Jade Gang. Solving the case is the business of the police. What does it have to do with Qin Haodong? Now, he is in the limelight with the police, but it is our Lin's group that suffers." Speaking of this, he turned to the directors behind him and shouted, "Now because of Qin Haodong, the interests of our whole group have been affected. Do you think we should hand him over to the Jade Gang? Should we let Lin Momo give up the position of president?" In his expectations, all the directors should be filled with righteous indignation about this matter. As long as he stood up and shouted, everyone would respond. Who knew that after he shouted for a long time, the audience was still silent, and not a single person echoed him? Zhao Zhongqin didn't expect this result. He was embarrassed. At the same time, he didn't understand what was wrong with these directors. In fact, sensible people had sensible ideas. Although the current situation was very unfavorable for Lin's group, after all, the Lin family and Zhao Zhongqin were the major shareholders. They should be anxious. Although these directors also had shares in their hands, they were just awed by Qin Haodong's medical skills. Later they would ask for medical treatment. How could they stand up and oppose openly now? Lin Pingqiao secretly scolded Zhao Zhongqin for being an idiot. It was clear that these people would ask Qin Haodong for help later. Now it was enough to incite them to oppose Lin Momo. Why did they bring Qin Haodong with them? They had no brains. At this time, Qin Haodong stood up again and walked to Zhao Zhongqin with a smile. "What are you going to do? Don't come over. I tell you that it's illegal to hit people. If you dare to touch me again, I will call the police immediately." Zhao Zhongqin was now very afraid of Qin Haodong. Although he spoke in a tough tone, he kept stepping back, and his legs began to tremble slightly. Other directors also locked their eyes on the hot-tempered young man. Qin Haodong's fierce appearance just now left a deep impression on them. They didn't know if he would break Zhao Zhongqin's legs this time. "Don't worry, we are all civilized people. I won't hurt you." Qin Haodong still had a bright smile on his face, but as soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and slapped Zhao Hongmao to the ground. Zhao Hongmao was completely dumbfounded. Since he was taught a lesson last time, he was now completely afraid of Qin Haodong. Although he attended the board meeting today, he had been sitting there without saying a word since Qin Haodong walked into the meeting room. He didn't even respond to his father's suggestion. He was even more obedient than a baby. But he didn't expect that he would still be beaten by Qin Haodong. "Qin Haodong, Zhongqin, why did you hit me?" "I didn't." I Zhao. Zhongqin. "I, Zhao." As he was. As. Qin Haodong, R. Ming, Qin. Ha. Qin. Zhao Zhongqin also roared angrily. Zhao Zhongqin said. "Qin. I Yang Qin. Zhongqin. Qin. Gang Qin Yang of. I to say. As. Shan. Qin Gang. Qin. Is it your business to beat your son?" The smile on Qin Haodong's face suddenly disappeared. He shouted in a stern voice, "The Burmese transported drugs to Wuxia and poisoned all of us. They are our compatriots. Do you think it's none of my business? If drugs are allowed to spread, it may be your son, or my son, or the son of any director here. As a Wuxia man, shouldn't I stand up to stop this kind of dirty business, which is harmful to the country and the people? Who dares to say that I, Qin Haodong, am wrong?" Zhao Zhongqin was suddenly speechless. Qin Haodong's counterattack was strange, but it hit his sore spot, which made him suffer in silence. Qin Haodong's words were righteous and reasonable. At first, a few people under the stage applauded, and then more and more people applauded. Finally, the applause became louder. Seeing that Zhao Zhongchen was easily defeated by Qin Haodong again, Lin Pingchao said, "Now we are not talking about national righteousness, but the dilemma facing Lin's group. Whether the Jade Gang is right or not, they really control our raw jade stone supply. Now they are not happy, and we can't get a stone. How can Lin's group run?" Lin Zhigao sighed and pretended to be sad. He said, "Now we have no other way. We can only do what the Jade Gang said. Even if we don't hand Qin Haodong over to Burma, we must let him leave Lin's group. Otherwise, we have no room for negotiation. At the same time, Momo can't continue to sit in the position of president. We must replace her. Although Momo has done a good job in recent years, there is no other way. It is all for the survival of Lin's group." Qin Haodong said coldly, "Being threatened by a small Jade Gang, Lin's group has to give in and replace its president. Isn't it too cowardly? If we do this, will Lin's group still have face? Will it still be able to survive in Jiangnan City in the future?" His words once again hit the sore spot in the hearts of many directors. Indeed, Lin's group was one of the largest consortiums in the south of the Yangtze River. If it was threatened to replace the president by an underground gang in Burma, it would be really shameful. As the directors of the group, they would also lose face. Lin Zhigao glared at Qin Haodong and said, "What do you say? If the Jade Gang doesn't give us raw jade stones, then Lin's group will have no raw materials, and the whole group can only close down." Qin Haodong said lightly, "If we can solve the raw jade stone supply, will all this be no problem?" Lin Zhigao said, "Of course, what we need now is raw jade stone as raw materials, but jade is only available in Burma. There is no second place in the world. If the Jade Gang doesn't supply, we can't solve the problem. Well, I'll take care of the short-term raw jade supply of Lin's group. I can guarantee that there will be no problem in the supply within half a year." Qin Haodong had just learned from Lin Momo that Lin's group's annual purchase of jade was about 3 billion yuan, so the raw jade stones in the warehouse of Daddy Security Company were enough to support him for half a year. At the same time, he was also secretly glad that he did not give those raw jade stones to Lin's group at that time, otherwise he would not have this trump card now. Lin Zhigao cried, "Nonsense, do you know how much raw jade stones Lin's group consumes in half a year? Where can you get so many raw materials?" Qin Haodong said confidently, "Don't worry about it. As long as there is a shortage of raw materials within half a year, I will leave Lin's group immediately, and Momo will resign as president." Zhao Zhongchen said sarcastically, "You are at most a group's healthcare doctor. When can a healthcare doctor speak for the president?" Lin Momo said, "What he means is what I mean. If there is a shortage of raw jade materials within half a year, I will resign as president immediately." Lin Zhigao said, "But the survival time of Lin's group can't be limited to half a year. There will be no shortage of raw materials within half a year. What about after half a year?" Qin Haodong said, "I will solve the problem of the Jade Gang within half a year. There will be no problem with raw materials then." Lin Pingchao said, "I don't agree. Qin Haodong is just a doctor. We can't bet the fate of the whole company on his promise. So I insist on initiating a president replacement vote. Only by replacing the current president of Lin's group can we win the opportunity to negotiate with the Jade Gang." Zhao Zhongchen and Lin Zhigao also said, "We also suggest initiating a president replacement vote." Although today's meeting had gone beyond their control, they still felt a little unwilling if they did not initiate a vote. "Well, since you insist, let's hold a vote." Lin Momo glanced at the directors and major shareholders under the stage and said, "Thank you for your support in the past. Although Lin's group faces a huge test this time, please believe me. As long as you give me time, the problem of the Jade Gang will be solved." Qin Haodong then said, I know you are not very familiar with me, but my promise is as trustworthy as my medical skills. I hope you can continue to believe in President Lin Momo. When he spoke, he quietly used mind bewitching. Although most of these directors and major shareholders would support Lin Momo through what had just happened, it was better to be safe. Who knew what dirty tricks Lin Pingchao and others would play in private? Of course, his mind bewitching did not cover Zhao Zhongchen and Lin Zhigao. Otherwise, if the pass rate was too high, it would arouse others' suspicion. Lin Pingchao glared at Qin Haodong fiercely. If it hadn't been for this toy boy, today's meeting would never have been so passive. He said, well, let's start voting. The conference room of Lin's group was extremely modern. There was a voting machine in front of each participant. After the announcement of the start of the voting, all the directors and major shareholders picked up the voting machine in front of them and began to vote. Once the vote was cast, the result would be reflected on the big screen in front of the conference room. 3 minutes later, the voting was over. Lin Pingchao looked at the result on the big screen. There was a flash of resentment and disappointment in his eyes. 90% of the votes supported Lin Momo to continue as the president. He snorted, got up and left the conference room. Today's efforts were in vain. After he left, Zhao Zhongchen and Zhao Hongmao naturally did not dare to stay to face Qin Haodong, so they also left the conference room. After they left, other directors immediately gathered around Qin Haodong and shouted, when will Dr. Qin see us? Thank you for your support. Qin Haodong made an obeisance to these directors and shareholders, and then said, please wait for me in the infirmary. I will go to see you immediately after I have a few words with the president. Seeing that Qin Haodong agreed to treat everyone immediately, these people left the conference room happily and went to the infirmary to wait in line. Qin Haodong and Lin Momo returned to her president's office. After closing the door, Lin Momo asked, what do you think of today's event? Your second uncle and Lin Pingchao want to take your position as president. There is no doubt about it. Zhao Zhongchen is also on their side. Chapter 129. Qin Haodong said, I don't think the Jade Gang's sudden attack this time is simple. Although they hate my guts, they will never hate money. As you said, the Jade Gang is very important to Lin's group, but Lin's group is also a big customer of the Jade Gang. Zhou Tianhu, the gang leader, is definitely not an idiot. Normally, he should not make such a hasty decision. Lin Momo nodded. She also agreed with Qin Haodong's statement and said, but now it has happened. The Jade Gang has indeed terminated the cooperation with Lin's group. Zhao Zhongchen would not dare to lie about such a big event even if he had the courage. I think there is a mole in Lin's group. They must have secretly reached an agreement with the Jade Gang. The purpose is to push you down from the position of president. Lin Momo was shocked and cried, do you mean my second uncle colluded with the Jade Gang? I don't think it's possible. Nothing is impossible. In the eyes of some people, as long as there is money, as long as it is for interests, they can sell anything. Moreover, they are very dissatisfied with you sitting in the position of president. But the person who colluded with the Jade Gang may be your second uncle's family, or Zhao Zhongchen and his son. After all, you took Zhao Hongmao down from the position of vice president. It is normal for them to retaliate against you. Qin Haodong patted her on the shoulder and comforted her, don't think so much. We are just guessing now. Maybe it is just a coincidence, but it is necessary to do some preparation. Then he called, Chanshan, come out for a minute. Yes, boss. A black shadow suddenly appeared in the room. It was Yao Chanshan, who was sent by Qin Haodong to protect Lin Momo. The task of daytime protection will be handed over to the divine mercenaries. You are responsible for following Lin Pingchao. If he has any abnormal reaction, tell me immediately. Got it, boss. I'll go now. Then Yao Chanshan disappeared from the room again. It could be seen that the hiding skills she had learned from the crazy Taoist were really superb. Looking at Qin Haodong, who arranged everything for her, Lin Momo felt a great sense of happiness. Without this man, she really didn't know how to face those aggressive shareholders today, and how to deal with the aggressive Zhao Zhongchen and Lin Zhigao. Over the years, she had struggled alone. At this moment, she felt physically and mentally exhausted. She couldn't help throwing herself into Qin Haodong's arms and pressing her cheek tightly against his chest. "Thank you, Haodong." Lin Momo whispered in Qin Haodong's ear. "What are you thanking me for?" "You're my woman, Tang Tang's mother. It's my duty to protect you." At this moment, in Lin Momo's heart, there was no safer place in the world than Qin Haodong's embrace. After a while, she raised her head and kissed Qin Haodong's cheek. Then she left his arms and said, "Haodong, are you sure those jades can last for half a year?" "Of course they can. My raw gemstones are all treasures. Each of them contains jade of all levels. It's a conservative statement to say that they can last for half a year. With the 3-month stock of Lin's group, there should be no problem to support them for a year." "That's good. Otherwise, if the raw jade gemstones are really out of stock, it will be a devastating blow to a group." Lin Momo breathed a sigh of relief. She secretly felt lucky that Qin Haodong had stored so many raw jade gemstones, otherwise it would be really difficult to solve now. Qin Haodong stared at her and said with a smile, "But President Lin, let's make it clear that those raw jade gemstones are my daughter's dowry. I can supply them to Lin's group, but I can't reduce the payment." Getting a positive answer from Qin Haodong, Lin Momo's mood also relaxed a lot. Then she said with a smile, "Didn't you say you would help me? Why do you still want money? I can help you. If it's your own company, I won't give you a cent of these stones for free. But now you and old Lin only have 10% of the shares. If I sell less, it will benefit Lin Zhigao and Zhao Zhongchen. I won't do a losing deal." "I know what you're thinking." Lin Momo took Qin Haodong's hand and said, "Don't worry. These raw jade gemstones will be paid according to the market price. I won't agree if it's less. Moreover, it's already valuable to supply the group in this case. It's good that you don't take advantage of the situation." Then she said with some worry, "But what if we use up all these raw jade gemstones? Companies like us in the jade business can't do without the jade gang in Burma." Qin Haodong said confidently, "The reason why I said half a year is that the person hiding in the dark has not been found. When I find that guy, I will go to Burma. I can make Zhou Tianhu kneel down and lick the small jade gang in minutes. Your toes." Lin Momo raised her hand and punched Qin Haodong in the chest. She said coquettishly, "You're so disgusting. I won't let him lick my toes." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Yes, I will suffer. Let's let him lick Dumao and Ermao's toes." "Where are Dumao and Ermao? I want to play with them." As they spoke, the door opened and Enbairu came in with the little fellow. After Qin Haodong got out of the car, he asked Saber to send her to Enbairu. "Papa, where are Dumao and Ermao?" the little fellow asked innocently while looking around. Qin Haodong said, "Dumao and Ermao are at home. You can play with them when you go back at night." Lin Momo said to Qin Haodong, "Leave Tang with me. Those people are still waiting for you in the infirmary. Today, it was all thanks to your medical skills that you helped a lot." "Well, I'll go and see them first." Qin Haodong waved to the little fellow and then walked to the infirmary. At the moment, in the infirmary, Zhang Jijia, the health doctor, was so busy that he was sweating. Originally, he was playing with his mobile phone in the office. He didn't expect that the leaders of the group would come to the infirmary one after another, which made him quite nervous. He quickly poured water and took a cigarette, and waited carefully. After all, these people were either the directors of the group or the major shareholders of the company. He couldn't afford any of them. Fortunately, these people were waiting for Qin Haodong and didn't make trouble for him. As Zhang Jijie suffered in pain, time passed minute by minute. Suddenly, the door opened and Qin Haodong came in from the outside. After entering the room, he frowned when he saw the room full of people. He waved his hand and said, "Go out and line up, one by one." Seeing that Qin Haodong talked to the directors so rudely, Zhang Jijie was scared and quickly whispered in his ear, "Brother, they are not ordinary patients. They are all directors or major shareholders of the group. Don't offend them." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "It's okay. It's okay. They are just patients who come to see a doctor. It's no big deal." "Well, brother, you don't know." What else did Zhang Jijie want to say? However, these directors, who were usually arrogant, didn't show any dissatisfaction. They obediently went out of the room and automatically lined up at the door. Zhang Jijie opened his mouth in surprise and couldn't close it for a long time. He didn't understand why these people were so obedient in front of Qin Haodong. Of course, he didn't know what these directors were thinking. Just at the board meeting, Qin Haodong beat Zhao Zhongchen and his son, the major shareholders, like dogs. How could they dare to make trouble here? Soon, a shareholder with glasses, who was the first in the line, came to Qin Haodong and said respectfully, "Dr. Qin, my name is Wang Gang. Please take a look at me." Qin Haodong nodded and motioned him to sit down at his table. Then he began to feel the pulse. After feeling the pulse, Wang Gang asked carefully, "Dr. Qin, how is my body? Recently, I always feel weak in my limbs and the world is spinning. At that time, I was also a little weak." "You are in your 50s this year, right?" Qin Haodong asked. "Exactly 55, Wang Gang said. At this age, you still take small blue pills as a meal. Aren't you looking for death? After a period of time, the kidneys will die. At that time, it will not be a problem of weak limbs." Wang Gang was shocked at first, and then he said with embarrassment, "Dr. Qin, I know what you said is reasonable, but I just married a model in her 20s. If I don't take medicine, I really can't. I'm afraid that she will wear a green hat again." The shareholder named Wang Gang was an honest man. He didn't hide anything and told Qin Haodong everything. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Middle-aged people like you are rich and successful. It's normal for you to satisfy a man's desire. But you should take it easy. Otherwise, it won't be worth it if you lose your life. Dr. Qin, you are a magic doctor. Can you help me find a way? As long as you can help me get better, you can ask me how much money you need." Wang Gang said with a pleading face. For successful people of his age, money was just a pile of numbers, far less important than health. "Lie down, I'll help you treat it, at least for a short time." Qin Haodong let Wang Gang lie on the bed, then took out the silver needles and used the acupuncture method of Sanyang Kai Tai to help him replenish the yang qi in his kidney. 5 minutes later, he took back the silver needles and said, "Get up, it's all right." Just when Qin Haodong was using the needles, Wang Gang had already felt that the essence in his body was getting more and more abundant. His whole body was full of strength, as if he could kill a cow with one punch. He jumped up from the bed and felt that the whole person had suddenly returned to the youth. His body hadn't felt so comfortable for a long time. "Dr. Qin, a magic doctor. You really are a magic doctor. I went to many hospitals, but there was no way to cure it. I didn't expect that I would be cured with a few needles. I have a physique-improving pill here. Take it when you go back. It can guarantee that you will be strong and healthy for at least a year. But you still have to take it easy. Take it once a day at most, and don't take the little blue pill again." Qin Haodong handed a small black pill to Wang Gang. It was made with the leftover materials from the last time he refined the little strengthening elixir. Although its efficacy was less than 1% of that of the little strengthening elixir, it was enough for ordinary people. Hearing that Qin Haodong could take it once a day, Wang Gang was immediately overjoyed. In his current physical state, he had to rely on taking medicine once every 10 days, or the second master would not give him face at all. Dr. Qin, thank you. Thank you so much. There is 1 million in this card, and the password is 6/8. Please accept it. Wang Gang put a bank card in front of Qin Haodong and thanked him profusely. He dared not offend such a great magic doctor. After all, he was getting older and his body was getting worse. What's more, a physique-improving pill could only guarantee him to be strong for a year, and he would have to trouble the magic doctor to treat him in the future. Chapter 130. Soon, the second shareholder walked into the infirmary. Rich people like them generally had chronic diseases and sub-health. These were diseases that Western medicine had no good way to cure, otherwise they would have been cured. These diseases were simple for Qin Haodong. After regulating the meridians with silver needles and taking a physique-improving pill, he would immediately become vigorous. Although there were more than 30 patients in total, Qin Haodong had basically finished the treatment when it was almost time to get off work. At the same time, there was a thick stack of bank cards on his desk. At this time, the last patient came in. He was in his 40s and was a shareholder of the company, Zhao Peng. After the treatment, Zhao Peng said to Qin Haodong, Dr. Qin, do you still have this physique-improving pill? My father is getting old, and I want to buy one for him. Qin Haodong had at least 100 low-level pills like this in his storage ring. He took out another one and handed it to Zhao Peng. He said, I didn't expect you to be so filial. Take it. Thank you, Dr. Qin. There is 1 million in this card. Please accept it. Zhao Peng put a bank card on Qin Haodong's desk and then left the infirmary with 2 pills. Qin Haodong put the stack of bank cards on the table into his pocket under Zhang Jijia's envious eyes. Then he returned to the president's office and took the little fellow home with Lin Momo. In the group building, Zhao Peng returned to his office and took out one of the 2 physique-improving pills in his hand and put it into his mouth. Although it was a low-level pill, Qin Haodong's refining method was special. He directly extracted all the essence of the medicinal materials, so it melted in his mouth. Soon, Zhao Peng felt that his exhausted body was full of strength. The whole person seemed to be 10 years younger. Even the second leader felt energetic and ready to move. Good stuff. It's really good stuff. Zhao Peng looked happy and took the remaining physique-improving pill to the next room. In the room, Zhao Zhongchen was pacing back and forth. When he saw Zhao Peng, he immediately asked expectantly, how is it? Did Qin Haodong give you any pills? Second uncle, I've got it. Zhao Peng said and sent the pill in his hand to Zhao Zhongchen. Second uncle, I took 2 pills in total. I have already taken one to test the effect. This one is for you. How is it? Is it effective? Zhao Zhongchen asked. Second uncle, Qin Haodong really has some skills. I've never seen such a good doctor. Those who have seen me before all said that he is good. I just tried it. It only took him a few minutes to cure my cervical spondylosis. Qin Haodong said with a smile on his face. I'm not asking you about that. I'm asking if the pill is effective. Although Zhao Zhongchen was over 60 years old, he was an old goat. What he was most concerned about now was the aphrodisiac effect of the physique-improving pill. Oh. Zhao Peng immediately understood and said, it's good. I just ate it. Although I haven't had sex yet, I can feel that it's definitely good. That's great. That's great. Zhao Zhongchen hurriedly put the pill in his hand into his mouth. After a few minutes, he was much more energetic. He hurriedly left the office and rushed to his lover's home. It seemed that he was eager to regain his masculinity. The next morning, when Qin Haodong was about to send the little fellow to school with Lin Momo, he received a call from Naylan Wushuang. Haodong, have you come back from your hometown? Naylan Wushuang asked. I'm back. What's the matter? Nalan Wushuang said, "Oh, then come to the security company. Now there are nearly 100 injured veterans waiting for your treatment." Qin Haodong was startled and asked in surprise, "What? Why are there so many? Didn't I say that our security company is saturated and we don't need to recruit more people?" The security market in Jiangnan City was not so big. Nearly 100 security guards in Daddy Security Company had been saturated. Qin Haodong had already told Nalan Wushuang that there was no need to recruit more people. Nalan Wushuang said helplessly, "I also know that we are saturated. I didn't recruit these people." "Then how did they come?" Qin Haodong asked strangely. "The people in our security company are all retired soldiers. Everyone has a few good comrades when they were in the army. How could they not tell their comrades when they met a miracle-working doctor like you? So these people came here after hearing the news, and most of them came from thousands of miles away. There are people from all over Huaxia." "Well." Qin Haodong hesitated for a moment and said, "Well, we can't drive them away when they come. Let's talk about whether to recruit them into our security company in the future. Let's cure their diseases first." Qin Haodong hung up the phone, said goodbye to Lin Momo, and drove straight to Daddy Security Company. After entering the company, he saw nearly 100 people standing on the training ground in front of the company. Some were on crutches, some were in wheelchairs, and some were even lying on stretchers. These people were similar to Zhang Tinyu. They were all Huaxia Special Forces soldiers who retired because of injuries. Seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, Zhang Tinyu came over with a wheelchair and said, "Boss, this is Xia Dongliang, my comrade in the army. His legs were disabled because he covered me. As long as you can cure his injuries, I, Zhang Tinyu, will repay you for the rest of my life. I will work for you in the security company for the rest of my life, and I won't take a penny. Yes, boss, this is also my best comrade. As long as you can cure him, I will sell my life to the security company, boss. As long as you can cure my comrade, I will give my life to the security company." The staff of Daddy Security Company who were at home quickly gathered around Qin Haodong, eagerly waiting for him to treat their comrade in arms. Qin Haodong glanced at these people and felt the strong comradeship. He was quite moved. He said, "Everyone, you have been injured and bled for Huaxia. You are all heroes of our land. I, Qin Haodong, have no conditions. As long as I can cure you, I will do my best to cure you." Then he asked Zhang Tinyu to organize these people to see the doctor in order. He found an empty room on the first floor as a consulting room and began to treat these people one by one. Although Qin Haodong's medical skills were good and profound, he was so tired after a busy day that his waist and legs ached. Fortunately, these people were almost healed by evening. He stood up and stretched, moving his stiff limbs, and shouted to the door, "Is there anyone else to treat?" "Me too." With a slightly joking answer, Ma Wenjue and Nalan Wushuang came in from outside. Qin Haodong remembered that when he was in Wufeng County, he had told Ma Wenjue to come to him today. "Haodong, he said he was your classmate." Nalan Wushuang said. Ma Wenjue punched Qin Haodong on the shoulder and said, "Boy, I thought you lied to me. You really have such a big business." Qin Haodong patted Ma Wenjue on the shoulder and said to Nalan Wushuang, "Let me introduce you. This is my best buddy, Ma Wenjue, my junior high school classmate. This is Miss Nalan Wushuang, the manager and chairman of Daddy Security Company." After greeting Nalan Wushuang, Ma Wenjue said to Qin Haodong, "Boy, you are really good. Why are there so many beautiful women around you now?" Then he said to Nalan Wushuang, "Beauty, do you have a boyfriend?" "I am single now." Nalan Wushuang looked at Qin Haodong meaningfully and said, "You have to ask him whether I have a boyfriend or not." Ma Wenjue immediately said with a painful face, "Beauty, what's wrong with your eyes? I am obviously much more handsome than Qin Haodong. When I was at school, people called me Brother Ma." Nalan Wushuang said with a smile, "You two are the same. You are not serious." No wonder you have such a good relationship. I have a good relationship because I have paid a lot. When I was at school, he often provoked other girls and was chased and beaten by all the boys in the school. If I hadn't protected him, he would have been disfigured. At that time, as long as he was beaten, he would use me as a meat shield. If I hadn't been stronger, I would have been beaten. Ma Wenjue looked at Qin Haodong again and asked with a strange face, by the way, you were beaten at that time, but I didn't see you as powerful as you are now. You left with Magistrate Zhao in a hurry that day. I didn't have time to ask you how you beat the big black guy. Did you find some martial arts manuals in the past few years? Did you secretly practice the Sunflower Treasured Book? At the party that day, Qin Haodong beat the big black guy Kafu with one move. Ma Wenjue was stunned and envious. He wanted to ask Qin Haodong where he learned this kung fu, but then Magistrate Zhao Yang came, so he didn't have time to ask. Qin Haodong said, "You are right. I have been learning from a master in the past few years. If you want to learn, I can teach you." Of course, he would not tell the secret of his reincarnation, so he could only find an imaginary master for himself. Ma Wenjue said quickly, "I want to learn, of course, I want to learn. These years, I have been beaten by others. How can I learn some kung fu? In the future, I will be a hero to save the beauty. Come here, I will feel your pulse first to see if you are suitable for practicing martial arts." Qin Haodong said and asked Ma Wenjue to sit down in front of the booth. "Do I need to feel my pulse? I am definitely a natural martial arts genius. As long as I learn for 3 or 5 years, I will be the first master in the world." Ma Wenjue said and laughed while sitting in front of Qin Haodong and reaching out his right hand. Qin Haodong put his hand on Ma Wenjue's pulse. At first, he was still smiling, but soon the smile disappeared, followed by a look of horror. "Bro, what do you mean by that? Are you telling me that you are pregnant?" Seeing Qin Haodong's expression, Ma Wenjue suddenly became nervous. At this time, Qin Haodong's heart had set off a huge wave, and he was not in the mood to bicker with Ma Wenjue. He never expected that his good brother turned out to be a congenital meridian unblocking. People with this kind of meridian were called holy bodies in the cultivation world. The meridians of ordinary people were closed, and only through acquired cultivation could they be opened. Cultivators called opening the meridians of the whole body as foundation establishment, which, as the name suggested, was to lay the foundation for future cultivation. But 90% of cultivators could not complete the foundation establishment in their lifetime. But congenital meridian unblocking could eliminate this hurdle. After birth, the meridians of the whole body were open, and the width and toughness of the meridians were far beyond that of ordinary people. Once such people began to cultivate, their speed was definitely more than 100 times that of ordinary people, so in the cultivation world, people with this kind of physique were called holy bodies. And there were very few people with this kind of physique. He had been in the cultivation world for 500 years, but he had only seen Empress Xiantian with a holy body. According to ancient records, there were many kinds of holy bodies, and it was not possible to determine which one Ma Wenjue belonged to by feeling his pulse. Thinking of this, Qin Haodong reached out to touch Ma Wenjue's body. He wanted to determine which kind of holy body his good brother belonged to. Chapter 131. Although Ma Wenjue wanted to resist, he was no match for Qin Haodong. Soon, he was touched all over his body. "It's over. I've lost my virginity." Ma Wenjue screamed miserably. He turned around and cried to Nailan Wushuang with a sad face, "Beauty, I'm innocent. Don't get me wrong. I have absolutely no improper relationship with this guy. I only like women, not men." Nailan Wushuang looked at the two of them and laughed, but she didn't know what Qin Haodong was going to do. Soon, Qin Haodong let go of Ma Wenjue, but his eyes were still staring at him. Kailan holy body. Ma Wenjue was so lucky that he not only had a holy body, which was rare in 1,000 years, but also the legendary Kailan holy body, ranked 8th in the top 10 holy bodies. Don't underestimate the Kylin holy body just because it was ranked 8th, because the top 10 holy bodies were all legendary existences. Anyone who cultivated a holy body to the extreme could sweep a plane. Ma Wenzhua seemed to be afraid of Qin Haodong. He took a few steps back and cried, "Don't look at me like that. I'm telling you, we can only be brothers in this life. It's absolutely impossible for us to have a relationship beyond friendship. Do you think I care about you?" Qin Haodong slowly recovered from the shock. Ma Wenzhua had the Kylin holy body. He was only happy for his good brother, without any jealousy. "What did you do just now?" Ma Wenzhua asked. "I just checked your physique. I didn't expect you to be so lucky. It turned out to be the extremely rare Kylin holy body." "What, Kylin holy body? Isn't it awesome?" Ma Wenzhua was just an ordinary person now. He knew nothing about the Kylin holy body, but the name sounded very powerful. Qin Haodong said, "It's not very awesome, but quite awesome." Holy **T, really? Ma Wenzhua was surprised at first, and then laughed arrogantly. He patted Qin Haodong on the shoulder and said, "Buddy, I told you that you're a martial arts genius. If you need anything in the future, just come to me. I'll protect you. Well, don't show off. I'll help you activate your physique first. Otherwise, you can't use the Kylin holy body at all. It's useless except for resistance." Okay. What should I do to activate my constitution?" Ma Wenzhua asked impatiently. This guy grew up watching martial arts movies. Now that he heard that he could become a master, he could no longer suppress the excitement in his heart. "Take off your clothes and lie on the bed." Qin Haodong turned around and said to Nalan Wushuang, "Wait for me outside. From now on, don't let anyone disturb me." As a warrior, Nalan Wushuang knew how important what Qin Haodong was going to do. She didn't say much and went straight to the door. Then she called Zhang Tiniu and the others over and arranged 10 security guards from Daddy Security Company to guard the door. Qin Haodong closed the door. At this time, Ma Wenzhua had taken off his shirt and trousers, leaving only his underwear. "Take this off, too," Qin Haodong said. "Take off your pants. Do you really want to take advantage of me by turning into a big glass?" Ma Wenzhua looked at Qin Haodong nervously and said. "Cut the crap. Even if I'm made of glass, I won't fall for you," Qin Haodong said as he took out the needle bag. Looking at the dense silver needles in the needle bag, Ma Wenzhua asked, "Do you mean to prick me with needles to activate my constitution?" "Of course, and a lot of needles." Although Ma Wenzhua was a little afraid, out of his desire to become a master and his trust in Qin Haodong, he took off his underwear and lay on the bed. It was definitely not easy to activate the fighting constitution of the Kylin holy body. Qin Haodong also happened to get an ancient book when he was in the cultivation world, which recorded a set of rising dragon needles. It was said that it could activate the holy body. However, the holy body was extremely rare in the past, and today was the first time he used it. After both of them were ready, Qin Haodong took a deep breath, took out a silver needle and slowly pierced it into Ma Wenzhua's dantian. With Qin Haodong's current cultivation, it was extremely difficult for him to perform the rising dragon needles. After a dozen silver needles in a row, fine beads of sweat began to appear on his forehead. Ma Wenzhua felt that every time he pierced a silver needle, his body seemed to be ignited. As the silver needles pierced more and more, his body became hotter and hotter. He gritted his teeth, endured the burning heat in his body, and cried, "Dong, are you going to make a barbecue? I'm going to be cooked in a minute. Don't talk nonsense. Calm down, so you can feel better." Although Ma Wenzhua usually liked to quarrel with Qin Haodong, he still trusted this brother 100% at the critical moment. He immediately closed his eyes and silently endured the pain in his body. Finally, Qin Haodong pierced all the 108 silver needles into Ma Wenzhua's body. When the last silver needle was pierced, he collapsed to the ground, panting heavily. At this time, Ma Wenzhou was like a roasted prawn. His whole body was red, and people could feel the burning breath on his body from a few meters away. "Dude, turn on the air conditioner quickly, or pour a few buckets of water on me, or I'll really catch fire." Ma Wenzhou cried with a painful expression. "It's not so easy to become a master. Hold on for another 10 minutes. You'll be fine after 10 minutes. After saying that, Qin Haodong hurried to restore his genuine qi. After all, the current work had just been done halfway, and he still had to guide Ma Wenzhou to complete the Zhuji phase. "Well, if I'm going to be burned to death, be sure to choose a good cemetery for me." Ma Wenzhou was really a weirdo. He was obviously tortured to death by the burning breath in his body, but he was still in the mood to joke. Time passed, and finally 10 minutes passed. Qin Haodong jumped up from the ground and quickly removed all the silver needles from Ma Wenzhou's body. Then he asked him to sit cross-legged, stretched out a palm to the Mingmen acupoint on his back, and injected the green wood genuine qi into his dantian. "Follow my genuine qi with your mind. Don't be distracted, or all the previous efforts will be in vain." After saying that, Qin Haodong controlled a wisp of green wood genuine qi to rise from Ma Wenzhou's dantian, and then ran it slowly along a special route. At this time, his genuine qi was not running the longevity method of Emperor Green Wood genuine qi, but the dragon tactics of the divine dragon sect of the cultivation world. This was already the highest level of cultivation method he knew. It was said that Kailan was the descendant of the dragon clan. According to this principle, the dragon tactics should be suitable for Ma Wenzhou's Kailan holy body. It turned out that Qin Haodong's speculation was correct. With the operation of the dragon tactics, the burning breath in Ma Wenzhou's body immediately rushed into his dantian like 100 rivers flowing into the sea, and then turned into a genuine qi, running together with Qin Haodong's green wood genuine qi. About half an hour later, Qin Haodong guided Ma Wenzhou to complete the first major circulation. At this time, the burning breath in his body had been restrained a little. At the same time, the genuine qi in his dantian was more abundant, and his whole body began to faintly exude the breath of a warrior. At this time, he had completed the first level of qi training. After that, Qin Haodong guided Ma Wenzhou to run 2 major circulation in succession. When he was fully adapted to the route, he began to withdraw his green wood genuine qi and let him control it. Ma Wenzhou began to run his genuine qi according to the dragon tactics. Every time he completed a major circulation, the breath in his body would strengthen a little, the burning breath would weaken a little, and his cultivation would also improve by a level. The 3rd level of qi training, the 4th level of qi training, the 5th level of qi training. When he completed 9 circulations, his cultivation had reached the 9th level of qi training, and he was about to enter the level of foundation establishment. If ordinary people wanted to break through the bottleneck of foundation establishment, they would definitely make great efforts, but the meridians of Kailan holy body were interconnected. There was no bottleneck at all in foundation establishment. Breaking through was as simple as eating and drinking. Soon, Ma Wenzhou completed the 10th major circulation of genuine qi, and his momentum suddenly increased more than 10 times. He had entered foundation establishment. At this time, his constitution, which had just been stimulated by Qin Haodong, had been completely absorbed, and there was no more motivation to improve. Even so, it was enough to make Qin Haodong envious. As a reborn person, he was still stuck in the bottleneck of foundation establishment and could not break through. Moreover, with Ma Wenzhou's Kailan holy body, his cultivation speed would be more than 10 times faster than that of ordinary people. It was absolutely a rocket-like speed. Moreover, with Qin Haodong's cultivation, he only activated 1% of Ma Wenzhou's Kailan constitution. If he really activated the whole constitution, it would be a heaven-defying existence. Ha ha ha, I'm also a master. Feeling the powerful genuine qi in his body, Ma Wenzhou was so excited that he jumped from the bed to the ground. But he was just an ordinary person before, and he couldn't control the powerful force in his body at this time. He used too much force, bounced up from the ground, and hit his head hard on the roof. With a bang, the guy's head was fine, but the bricks and stones on the roof flew everywhere, and the whole room shook. "What the hell, are you going to demolish the house?" Qin Haodong hurriedly held Ma Wenjue down. If he was tossed around by this guy again, the house would really collapse. Ma Wenjue still couldn't hide his excitement and shouted excitedly, "Ha ha ha, I'm a master now, the #1 master in the world." Qin Haodong said disdainfully, "Bullshit, you're still far from being the #1 master in the world. You can't even control your own strength. You're not convinced, right? Then let's fight together. I'll beat you until you look for your teeth all over the ground." With such a powerful force all of a sudden, Ma Wenjue was like a poor man who suddenly became rich. He was very eager to show off. "Let's go outside and show you how powerful I am." "Wait a minute, you." Before Qin Haodong finished speaking, he was interrupted by Ma Wenjue. "What are you waiting for? I can't wait any longer. Come out and fight with me." After that, he opened the door and rushed to the training ground outside. When he arrived at the training ground, in addition to the 10 security guards of the Daddy Security Company at the door, the training ground was also full of people who were training, including those who had just been cured by Qin Haodong. They also ran out for recovery training. After Ma Wenjue suddenly ran out, he immediately became the focus of the whole audience. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at him with dull eyes. "Ha ha, why are you all looking at me like this? Do you also know that I'm already the #1 master in the world?" Seeing so many people staring at him, Ma Wenjue felt proud. At this time, Qin Haodong also followed him out of the door and shouted to him, "#1 master, you haven't put on your clothes yet." "Ah." At this time, a cold wind came and Ma Wenjue felt cold all over his body. Only then did he realize that he was naked when he activated his body. He was so excited just now that he forgot to put on his clothes. Although the training ground was full of men at this time, it still made him feel very embarrassed. Oh no, I'm naked now." Chapter 132. Hearing the laughter in the venue, Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan, the only 2 women in Daddy Security Company, came out. "What's going on? What's everyone laughing at?" Nalan Wushuang asked Qin Haodong. "Nothing. The world's top expert just demonstrated a unique skill for us." Qin Haodong laughed. "Who's the top expert? Where is he?" Qi Wan asked in confusion. Qin Haodong looked back in the direction of the room and said with a smile, "He has gone back to the room. Maybe he just practiced a unique skill and hurt his vitality." At this time, although Ma Wenjue had changed his clothes, he was embarrassed to death when he heard the conversation of these people. He hid in the room and did not dare to show off until Qin Haodong asked him to go to the cafeteria for dinner. The 2 of them were busy from afternoon to evening and had not had dinner yet. Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan had been waiting for Qin Haodong and had not eaten either. The 4 of them went to the cafeteria together. When they were almost finished, Nalan Wushuang said, "Haodong, what are you going to do with these newcomers?" Qin Haodong put down the bowl and chopsticks, thought for a moment and said, "Their injuries have been cured. Don't they go back?" Nalan Wushuang shook her head and said, "I've already asked. Everyone wants to stay and work for you. On the one hand, these people are good men who know how to repay kindness and want to repay your kindness. On the other hand, although they are skilled, they have honed their skills on the battlefield. If they go home, they will have no place to use their skills. Staying in the security company can give them a chance to show their talents. Moreover, our security company has the best treatment. After going out, they can't find such a good job again." Qin Haodong frowned and said, "But at present, our manpower is saturated. If we recruit more people, we can only be idle. After all, the market in Jiangnan is so big, and there are only so many rich people who can afford bodyguards. He was really in a dilemma. It was okay to let these people go back. After all, he had treated their injuries for free, and there was no obligation to arrange work for them. But Qin Haodong considered that these wounded people were once warriors of Wuxia and had made contributions to the country. He really couldn't bear to let them go back. It seemed that Naylan Wushuang saw through Qin Haodong's mind and said, "Haodong, have you ever thought about making the security company stronger and bigger in the future and going out of Jiangnan City?" Out of Jiangnan City? Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He really hadn't thought about this problem. The reason why he had set up Daddy Security Company was to have enough people to protect the little fellow and Lin Momo. His ambition was medicine. His ultimate ambition was to cure people and develop traditional Chinese medicine. He didn't pay much attention to business. Yes, if we make Daddy Security Company bigger and go out of Jiangnan City, then these people can be arranged. Naylan Wushuang said, "In fact, this method is completely feasible. After a period of time, there will definitely be other wounded people coming to us one after another. We don't have to worry about manpower at all." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, "That's a good idea. We can open a branch office in another city, so that we can settle the staff, but where should we go?" Ma Wenjue said, "If we want to do it, let's do it big. Let's go to the capital. The stage there is bigger and more suitable for us brothers to do business." Qi Weiner said, "I grew up in the capital. If I go to the capital to develop the branch of the Daddy Security Company, it is not suitable for the time being." "Why do you say that?" Qin Haodong asked. "Because the water in the capital is too deep. All the big forces are controlled by the aristocratic families. If there is no aristocratic family as the foundation, it will be difficult to develop. Daddy Security Company has just been established, and we are very inexperienced in all aspects. If we enter the capital at this time, it will be a little too hasty." Qin Haodong thought for a moment. What Qi Weiner said was very reasonable. There were too many aristocratic families in the capital, and it was really not suitable for the new Daddy Security Company. He thought for a moment and said, "Well, let's set the branch of Daddy Security Company in Shanghai. Shanghai is not as complicated as the capital. At the same time, it is also a big city in Huaxia. There is huge room for development." Naylan Wushuang said, "Shanghai is really suitable for us, but who should we send to take charge?" The Naylan family was a big family in Jiangnan province, and most of its roots were in Jiangnan. The reason why Naylan Wushuang came to preside over the Daddy Security Company was for Qin Haodong. Otherwise, how could a miss of a big family like her come here to be the general manager? Under such circumstances, she naturally did not want to open a branch office in Shanghai. "I have already chosen the person in charge." Qin Haodong looked at Ma Wenjue and said with a smile, "Let's leave it to the world's top expert, Brother Ma." His decision seemed to be very casual, but in fact, it was the result of careful consideration. Ma Wenjue was his life-and-death brother. There was no need to say more about the degree of trust between them. At the same time, this person seemed to be joking, but in fact, he was very talented. It was just that he had not found a platform to display his talent in recent years. Now that he had activated the Kailan holy body, his cultivation was naturally excellent. In addition, Ma Wenjue's character was extremely tough, and he had a spirit of not admitting defeat. When they were children, they were often bullied, but they never bowed their heads to others. For example, the activation of the holy body just now was definitely a process of torture like purgatory. If it was someone else with a weak will, it was very likely that he would give up halfway, but he endured it without saying a word. Naylan Wushuang and Qi Weiner naturally had no objection to Qin Haodong's decision. The person in charge of the Daddy Security Company's branch office in Shanghai was thus decided. Other personnel were tentatively set as the 100 people who had just been cured, and they would continue to be added in the future. After all, Shanghai was much larger than Jiangnan City, and the market prospects were naturally broader. Nalan Wushuang said, now that we have people, the next step is money. Qin Haodong asked, how much money do you need in the budget? Nalan Wushuang thought for a moment and said, Shanghai is not like Jiangnan City. It needs a lot of expenses in all aspects. If we open a security company of the same scale, the preliminary budget is about 200 million. Ma Wenzhuo was shocked and said in surprise, 200 million? So much? I only have 200 yuan in my pocket. Qin Haodong also frowned slightly. He didn't have so much money in his pocket now. Originally, he had 30 million from selling the Xuanda sensor, but he spent 3 or 4 million on a trip back to Wufeng County. Now he only had more than 20 million in his hand, which was still a long way from 200 million. Seeing Qin Haodong was in a dilemma, Nalan Wushuang said, now our company has just started operating, and there is not much surplus capital. If you need me to talk to Grandpa, I think 200 million is not a problem. Qi Weiner also said, I can also help you. Ma Wenzhuo was so surprised that he opened his mouth wide. Not only were these two girls beautiful, but they were also so rich. This was 200 million, not 2,000 yuan. Are you sure you are talking about 200 million yuan, not 200 million rubles? Qin Haodong glared at him and said, you don't have to worry about money. I'll find a way myself. Ma Wenzhuo widened his eyes and said, what can you do? It's 200 million. It's not enough to sell all your kidneys. Qin Haodong glanced at him and said with a smirk, now I'm going to find some rich women over 50 years old, and then I'll rent you out. We'll leave when we have enough money for 2 months. Ma Wenzhuo cried, damn it, we are brothers. You don't have to be so cruel. You even want to find women over 50 years old. If you don't want to sell yourself, you should hurry to practice. It's estimated that there are still 3 or 4 days to rest. Don't be unable to control your men at that time. Qin Haodong paused and said, also, you must keep the fact that you have the holy body a secret. If you are caught by any country as a guinea pig or possessed by a big man who practices the evil way, don't blame me for not reminding you. Ma Wenzhuo was shocked. Originally, he wanted to show off his Kailan holy body. Hearing this, he immediately dispelled the idea. Qin Haodong did not go back to Lin's villa that night. Instead, he stayed in the security company. He took out the medicinal materials in the storage ring and began to refine the marrow cleansing pill. He wanted to use these days to promote all his men to warriors. In the past, people like Chen Fugue and Zhang Tiniu could compete with obvious strength warriors, but in the long run, there was little room for improvement. If they all became warriors, with the support of his own elixirs and cultivation methods, he believed that they would soon become a force that did not belong to any famous sect. Early the next morning, there were 200 more marrow cleansing pills in Qin Haodong's ring. At the same time, he also sorted out a set of cultivation methods suitable for Zhang Tiniu and others, named them Tang sect cultivation methods. He gave the marrow cleansing pills and cultivation methods to Nalan Wushuang and asked her to distribute them to the people in the company. Then he drove to Lin's group to work. After entering the company building, Qin Haodong walked to the infirmary. As soon as he walked to the door, he saw that the door was already full of people. They were all the directors and shareholders who had seen him yesterday. After seeing Qin Haodong, these people immediately shouted, Dr. Qin is here, Dr. Qin is here. Seeing these people waiting for him, he asked, what's the matter, everyone? Didn't you get better yesterday? Well, Dr. Qin, we are all very good now. The one who spoke was Wang Gang, the first healer from yesterday. As he spoke, he raised his hand and punched his chest twice to show how strong he was. What are you doing here? Qin Haodong asked. Wang Gang said, Dr. Qin, your physique-improving pill is really a good thing. Those of us who have used it all say it is good. We come here to see if you still have it. We want to buy some. Yes, Dr. Qin, my father's health is not good. I want to buy one for him, Dr. Qin, my father-in-law has just married a concubine. I also want to buy a pill for him, Dr. Qin, my son has been in poor health since he was a child. Sell me another one, not one, but 10, yes, Dr. Qin, I want to have another son. Sell me 10, these people shouted at once. It turned out that they all came to ask for medicine. Some people wanted to buy a few more for themselves, and some wanted to buy it for their relatives and friends. Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. He was short of money now, and these people in front of him were rich. He could sell the physique-improving pill to them. However, he also knew that things were not valuable. Instead of taking out all the pills, he only took out 10 and said to the people in front of him, "Everyone, I'm really sorry. I want this kind of pill. There are only 10 left in my hand. I don't have that many. 10, it's too little. It's not enough at all, Dr. Qin, I'm the first one here. Sell them all to me, how can we do that? There are so many people. I'm willing to pay more. Buy them to me." Seeing that Qin Haodong did not have many pills in his hand, these people quarreled and even had the tendency to fight. Chapter 133. No problem. This method is fair, all the people present were rich. They often participated in various auctions. They were familiar with this form of auction and had no objection. Qin Haodong said, "Well, I'll auction the first elixir now. The starting price is 100,000 yuan. Each bid should be no less than 100,000 yuan. Start now. I'll pay 500,000 yuan." A shareholder who had begun to lose his hair directly shouted the price to 500,000 yuan. Yesterday, he took a physique-improving pill. This morning, he was surprised to find that a layer of hairy hair grew where his hair fell. Although it was still very short, it gave him hope after all. The more people lacked something, the more they cherished it. Now he was eager to grow a head of black and lush hair, so he was determined to get this physique-improving pill. But obviously, this price obviously did not scare other shareholders. "I'll pay 800,000 yuan. Someone immediately refreshed the price. He shouted. "I'll pay 1 million yuan, 1. 2 million yuan, 1. 5 million yuan, I'll pay 2 million yuan." After this shout, no one else raised the price. After all, 2 million yuan had reached a high level. Qin Haodong had already taken out a wash basin from the office. After asking several times to confirm that no one raised the price, he slapped the wash basin and announced, "The elixir belongs to this gentleman." The price of the first elixir rose all the way and finally stopped at 2 million yuan. The buyer was the bald shareholder. He happily filled a check of 2 million yuan and handed it to Qin Haodong. Then he put the elixir in his pocket. Zhang Jijie helped Qin Haodong. When he saw that an elixir sold for 2 million yuan, his eyeballs almost popped out of his eye sockets. He did not know the value of this physique-improving pill. The elixir from the hands of Emperor Greenwood, even if it was a low-level one, was priceless. At the end of the first auction, other shareholders were not discouraged. After all, this was only the first of 10 elixirs. There were 9 more. Maybe the price of the next one would be lower. In fact, this kind of auction could only make the price higher and higher. The second elixir was soon sold and finally sold for 2.8 million yuan. The auction here was in full swing. On the other floor of the group building, Zhao Zhongchen came to Lin Zhigao's office excitedly. Lin Zhigao just asked the female secretary to make a cup of tea for him. He saw Zhao Zhongchen push the door and come in with a happy face. He couldn't help asking, "Old Zhao, why are you so happy? Did something good happen?" "Of course it's good news." Zhao Zhongchen was a regular here. He waved his hand to let the secretary go out, and then said in a low voice, "Brother, do you know how many times I came here last night?" "What do you mean?" "What do you mean a few times?" Lin Zhigao didn't react for a moment. It's the female college student I just found. Zhao Zhongchen said excitedly. Old Zhao, is there a need to guess? At our age, it's already good enough to have one, and we still have to rely on the effects of small pills. Brother, you're wrong. I came here 3 times last night, and I didn't take any medicine. Zhao Zhongchen said and stretched out 3 fingers excitedly. Lin Zhigao was stunned for a moment and then said, Old Zhao, we all know each other. There's no point in bragging to me about this. I'm not bragging. I'm telling the truth. Zhao Zhongchen said, yesterday, when Qin Haodong treated patients, everyone was given a physique-improving pill. My nephew also went there. He brought back 2 pills and gave one to me. Guess what happened after I took it? Lin Zhigao said impatiently, well, don't keep me guessing. Just tell me. Zhao Zhongchen smiled and said, it's lucky that we didn't drive the boy surnamed Lin out yesterday. His medical skills are really good. After taking the physique-improving pill, I feel as if I'm 20 years old again. I'm full of strength and spirit. Especially after going to bed, I was so powerful. The little girl was tamed by me. It was really fun. After he said that, he laughed. For an old man of his age, there was nothing more refreshing than reviving his masculinity. You're not lying to me, are you? Is a pill so magical? Lin Zhigao asked with some disbelief. Brother, how can I lie to you about this? In order to prove that he was not lying, Zhao Zhongchen turned to a large flower pot next to him. This large porcelain flower pot, together with the soil inside and the flowers on it, could weigh about 70 or 80 kilograms. He reached out and picked it up, and then gently put it down. He clapped his hands and turned to Lin Zhigao and said, Brother, you see, I'm in good health now. My waist is not sore, my legs are not painful, and I have the strength to go to bed. Really? Lin Zhigao sat up from the sofa and asked expectantly, is there any physique-improving pill for me? I don't have it. Yesterday, my nephew asked for 2. We have eaten up 1 each. If you want it, you have to go to Qin Haodong. Well, let's go now. Lin Zhigao said and hurried out of the office. Last night, his wife kept asking him to pay for it, but the warehouse was empty. Even the small blue pills that he used in the past had no effect, which made his wife very dissatisfied. Now hearing Zhao Zhongchen say that there was such a good thing, how could he not be anxious? Zhao Zhongchen followed Lin Zhigao, and they walked together in the direction of the infirmary. As soon as they arrived at the door, they saw a lot of people gathered there. They were all directors and shareholders of their group. It looked very lively. Qin Haodong was in a good mood. He had just auctioned 9 physique-improving pills in succession, and the price of each one was higher than the previous one. The last one was sold at a high price of 8 million yuan. He held the last pill in his hand and said loudly, everyone, this is the last physique-improving pill. Everyone should seize the opportunity. Just then, someone shouted, don't bid anymore. I want this pill. Those shareholders who didn't get the pill were waiting for the final auction. Hearing someone being so domineering, they all looked back with dissatisfaction. When they saw Lin Zhigao coming, they suddenly stopped talking. After all, this was Lin's group, and Lin Zhigao was the uncle of the president, the major shareholder of the company. His status was much more special than theirs. Qin Haodong glanced at Lin Zhigao, who was arrogant, and couldn't help sneering. He didn't like the old man who had just made trouble for his woman yesterday. Lin Zhigao and Zhao Zhongchen squeezed into the crowd and came to Qin Haodong. He pointed to the physique-improving pill in his hand and said, I want this pill. Qin Haodong said with a smile, if you want it, you can bid the highest price in the auction. What? You want me to participate in the auction? Don't you know who I am? Lin Zhigao said with his chin raised. Zhao Zhongchen quickly added, Qin Haodong, this is Director Lin Zhigao, one of the major shareholders of our Lin's group. How can you let him participate in the auction? Qin Haodong said, all the directors and shareholders of Lin's group are here to participate in the auction. What's special about him? Lin Zhigao thought that Qin Haodong would obediently hand over the physique-improving pill after knowing his identity. He didn't expect that the young man didn't take him seriously at all. He couldn't help saying angrily, can I be the same as them? I am a member of the Lin family, and I have 10% of the shares. 10%, that's a lot. Qin Haodong exclaimed, but when Lin Zhigao just showed a trace of pride, he said, so what? What does it have to do with me even if you have 50% of the shares? Well, I'm not an unreasonable person. As long as you give me 1% of the shares, you can take the physique-improving pill immediately, 1% of the shares. Lin Zhigao almost choked to death by his own saliva. 1% of the market value of Lin's group was worth hundreds of millions. Was this pill made of gold? Even gold was not so expensive. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't give face to him, a major shareholder, Lin Zhigao took a deep breath, calmed down his anger, and said, don't forget that I'm Momo's uncle. Aren't you in love with her? Don't you give me face? Qin Haodong sneered secretly. At this time, he remembered that he was Momo's uncle. Why didn't he say that he was Momo's uncle when he secretly played tricks with his son yesterday? So what? I'm really in love with Momo, and our relationship is very stable, but we haven't got the certificate yet. In the legal sense, we have no family relationship. You. Lin Zhigao was so angry that his face turned red. He said angrily, Qin Haodong, do you mean to not give me face? Qin Haodong still had an irritating smile on his face. He said lightly, you are a director of the group and also a member of the Lin family. I have to give you face. But my physique-improving pill is for sale. I can't exchange it with face. Lin Zhigao was furious. He pointed at Qin Haodong's nose and shouted, boy, you're fired. Pack up your things and get out of here. Old Lin, I want to ask, in what capacity did you fire me? Qin Haodong asked with a smile. I'm a director of the group, holding 10% of the shares. Can't I fire a little doctor like you? Of course not. The director of the group has no power to directly manage the employees. It's the president who will fire me. If you really want to drive me away, hold a board meeting and let everyone vote. Let's see how many people will vote with you. You. Lin Zhigao was so angry that he couldn't speak. The group directors around him all looked at the pill in Qin Haodong's hand. They could guess the result of the vote even if they thought with their heels. At this time, Zhao Zhongchen said, Qin Haodong, you are also the group's healthcare doctor. It's natural for you to treat Mr. Lin. Why can't I ask for a pill from you? Lin Zhigao shouted, that's right. Since you are still an employee of the group, you should serve me. Qin Haodong said, I can serve you and treat you, but I have to use the resources of the group and the drugs of the group. You can choose any medicine in the infirmary and take them all. But this physique-improving pill is my personal property. I have no obligation to give it to you. Zhao Zhongchen and Lin Zhigao were suddenly speechless. Qin Haodong was right. Although he was an employee of the group, it was impossible for him to take his own pills. Well, it's just an auction. I can buy it. It's not a big deal to spend 100,000 yuan. After Lin Zhigao finished speaking, he turned to the other shareholders and said, this pill is mine. Don't compete with me. The other shareholders looked at each other. Anyway, Lin Zhigao had a great say in the group. After that, it was natural that no one competed with him. Lin Zhigao was very satisfied with this effect. He turned to Qin Haodong and said, well, you start the auction. Qin Haodong smiled slightly. This old guy wanted to play dirty with him, but there was no way. Chapter 134. Lin Zhigao staggered and almost fell to the ground. He looked up at Qin Haodong and shouted, isn't the starting price 100,000 yuan? How did it become 10 million? Qin Haodong said with a smile, I decide my pills. I can sell them for as much as I want, and this is the last one. If you don't buy it, there will be no chance in the future. You. Lin Zhigao trembled with anger. He really wanted to turn around and leave, but he was reluctant to give up the little pill in front of him. Just now Zhao Zhongchen said that it was okay to take it 3 times in one night. But if Hua Zhen spent 10 million to buy this physique-improving pill, he was not reconciled. Qin Haodong ignored Lin Zhigao, whose eyes were full of anger, and said to others, the auction has begun. If anyone wants to buy it, hurry up. After a minute, I will announce that there is no auction, and you can't buy it even if you want to. A shareholder who had not yet bid for the pill came to Lin Zhigao's ear and whispered, Director Lin, do you buy it or not? If you don't buy it, I will bid. Buy it, why not? Isn't it just 10 million? I have money. Finally, Lin Zhigao chose to give in. He took out the checkbook from his pocket, wrote a check for 10 million and sent it to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong took the check and shook it. He turned to look at others and said, Everyone, is there anyone who wants to increase the price? When others saw that Lin Zhigao really took out 10 million, they didn't say anything. The price of 10 million was really expensive, and they didn't want to offend Lin Zhigao completely because of this. Well, since no one wants to increase the price, this pill is Director Lin's. Qin Haodong banged on the basin, and then handed the physique-improving pill to Lin Zhigao. Lin Zhigao snorted, took the pill, turned around, and left. He had just lost face again and again. How could he stay here? The rest of the shareholders looked at Qin Haodong with complicated expressions. Just now, the young man had a smile on his face and didn't even speak loudly, but he gave people a domineering feeling. He suppressed Lin Zhigao so much that he couldn't even lift his head. In the end, Lin Zhigao bought a pill at a high price of 10 million yuan. The physique-improving pill had been auctioned off. It was meaningless for others to stay here, so they left the infirmary one after another. Brother Qin, take a seat. Zhang Jijie invited Qin Haodong to sit down, and then made him a cup of tea and put it in front of him. At this time, he admired the young man in front of him. They were both doctors, but Qin Haodong could earn tens of millions of yuan by casually moving his fingers, while he only earned a few thousand yuan a month. He pulled a chair and sat in front of Qin Haodong. He said flatteringly, Brother Qin, who did you learn your medical skills from? Can you teach Big Brother a thing or two? I don't need to sell a pill for 10 million yuan, 1,000 yuan will do. Qin Haodong smiled. He knew what Zhang Jijie was thinking and said, You can't learn my medical skills. Oh. Zhang Jijie agreed with a look of disappointment. In his opinion, it was not that he couldn't learn it, but that Qin Haodong didn't want to teach him. But it was normal. No one would casually teach such amazing medical skills to others. You can't learn my medical skills, but I can give you a pill. Qin Haodong had a good impression of Zhang Jijie. He took out a physique-improving pill from the storage ring and gave it to him. This is for me. Zhang Jijie couldn't believe it. He had just seen the value of this small pill with his own eyes. It was 10 million yuan for one pill, which was more expensive than gold. Of course it's for you. Eat it quickly. Qin Haodong said again, don't think about selling it. If others know that you have this kind of medicine, there may be trouble. Oh, I see. Zhang Jijie looked at the physique-improving pill in his hand. He made up his mind and raised his hand to throw it into his mouth. At this time, his mood was extremely complicated. He was both excited and heartbroken. It was 10 million yuan, and he just ate it. Originally, he wanted to savor the taste of the pill, which was worth 10 million yuan. Unexpectedly, the physique-improving pill melted in his mouth and flowed into his stomach with his saliva. Soon, he felt that his whole body was as if it had been reborn, and his whole body was full of strength. Most modern people were in a sub-healthy state. In addition, they used electronic products for a long time, so they had cervical spondylosis, dry eyes, and all kinds of discomfort. Especially fat people like Zhang Jijia, who had high blood pressure, high blood fat, and high blood sugar. But at this moment, these discomforts were completely swept away, followed by 100 times more energy. Magic medicine, elixir, it's really good stuff. Zhang Jijie said to Qin Haodong excitedly, "Brother Qin, thank you very much." "Thank you so much." Qin Haodong waved his hand and said carelessly, "We are colleagues. It's just a pill. It's not a big deal." Zhang Jijie knew the value of the physique-improving pill. After expressing his gratitude again and again, he asked, "By the way, Brother Qin, didn't you say that it was the last 10 pills? Why are there still more?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "This is my thing. How can I not keep some for myself?" "Got it, I got it." Zhang Jijie was also a smart man. He immediately understood Qin Haodong's intention. If he had just taken out all the pills to meet everyone's needs, he might not have been able to sell them for so much money. That was the truth. The rarer something is, the greater its value. After seeing through this, he admired this young man more and more. At this time, Qin Haodong's phone on the table rang. He glanced at it and found a series of strange numbers. Not only did he not know them, but they were not Wuxia phone numbers. After a while, he pressed the answer button and heard someone on the other side of the phone say in stiff Wuxia language, "Hello, teacher, I'm Jean." Jean. Qin Haodong suddenly confused himself. He couldn't figure out who this Jean was. The person on the other side of the phone continued, "Dear teacher, have you forgotten me? I'm James from the World Medical Association." Qin Haodong remembered that when he went to treat Nailan Jia last time, he met James, a cardiopulmonary expert from the World Medical Association. At that time, he accepted him as a registered apprentice, but he almost forgot about it. He said, "It's you. Why didn't you tell me your full name? Why did you call me Jean?" "Teacher, don't Wuxia people like to talk like this?" "What Zhang, Li? My name is James. Shouldn't it be Jean?" James said excitedly, "Teacher, I've been learning Wuxia language and culture with my wife at home recently. What do you think of what I'm saying now?" Qin Haodong was secretly amused. This foreigner was really serious. He said, "Not bad. Why did you call me?" James was very happy to be praised by Qin Haodong. He said, "Well, teacher, I have an important patient here. I want to ask you to treat him. Do you have time to come to M country? This patient is very rich. If you agree, you can ask for as much as you want." Now that the matter of Lin's group had not been dealt with, Qin Haodong naturally couldn't leave. He said, "No, I'm very busy recently. I don't have time to go there. If he wants to see a doctor, let him come to Wuxia." "Well, I'll ask the patient now and see if he can agree." James said. "Who is this patient? Do you even keep his name a secret?" Qin Haodong asked with some dissatisfaction. "I'm sorry, teacher. This gentleman's status is very distinguished. I really can't reveal his personal privacy without his consent." James said apologetically. "It's up to you. If he wants to see a doctor, he can come to Wuxia." The person who could make James so careful was definitely not an ordinary person. However, Qin Haodong was not interested in this. Even if that person was a head of state or a prince, in his eyes, he was just an ordinary patient. James hung up the phone, but soon called back. "Teacher, I've already asked that gentleman. I can tell you his identity. He is Old Maldini from M country." Old Maldini? This name stirred a wave in Qin Haodong's heart. Although he didn't pay attention to financial news, he had heard about Old Maldini. This old man was definitely an influential figure in M country and even the whole world. He controlled hundreds of billions of dollars. He could easily collapse the economy of some small countries with a flick of his finger. His power was so great that he could even influence the presidential election of M country. Old Maldini had amazing wealth. At his level, making money was easier than eating. A few months ago, a rich man in an oil kingdom offered a high price of $1 million to have lunch with old Maldini. This showed how valuable this old man was. His hair could be a gold bar. Because of this, he understood why James wanted to keep it a secret just now. For an important figure like old Maldini, even a sneeze would cause fluctuations in the stock market. If the news that he came to Wuxia for medical treatment was spread out, the impact would be huge. In James's impression, Qin Haodong would immediately scream or at least express surprise when he heard the name of old Maldini. However, Qin Haodong's calm reaction was beyond his expectation. "Teacher, are you listening to me?" "Oh. Yes, old Maldini wants to see a doctor." "Let him come." James said, "Mr. Old Maldini has sent his butler to Wuxia to make preparations. We will set off from M country tomorrow morning and are expected to arrive in Jiangnan City in Wuxia in the afternoon. At the same time, Mr. Maldini's assistant has also contacted the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Wuxia. I believe that someone from the Ministry of Health of Jiangnan City will contact you soon. It's just to see a doctor. Is it necessary to go through so much trouble?" Qin Haodong said. James hurriedly explained, "Teacher, I hope you can understand. Mr. Old Maldini's time is very precious. Almost every minute and every second is precisely calculated. Although your medical skills are excellent, you still need to use some hospital equipment when seeing a doctor. So you have to contact the Ministry of Health first. In addition, the news of Mr. Old Maldini's illness can't be leaked, otherwise the stock market of M country will immediately change. So you have to go to Wuxia in the name of attending an economic forum, which needs to be well communicated with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Wuxia." Qin Haodong understood this. He once read a topic in a magazine about whether to pick up the $300 that old Maldini dropped on the ground or not. The answer was no, because the value created by the time he bent down to pick up the money was far greater than the $300. He said, "Do whatever you want. I'll go and see him then." "Teacher, don't worry about this. Mr. Kyukok, old Maldini's butler, has already gone to Wuxia. He will arrange everything by then." Chapter 135. James said, "Here's the thing, teacher. Old Maldini often has severe headaches recently, which have affected his normal work. After the examination of the experts of our World Medical Association, it was confirmed that there was a tumor in his brain, which caused nerve pain because of the tumor. The tumor was not too big, smaller than a ping-pong ball. It was benign. It was very easy for ordinary people to treat it, as long as the tumor was removed. But now it was old Maldini who was suffering from the disease. He was 81 years old this year. There was bound to be some risk in the operation at such an old age. Moreover, Mr. Maldini had to keep his mind clear all the time, so he was very resistant to the use of anesthetics. Without anesthetics, the operation could not be completed at all. In addition, if the operation is performed, it will take a long time to recover. Mr. Maldini's fund and M country's economy will not be able to bear it, and it will even cause a great shock to the global economy. So this operation can't be performed unless it's a last resort." James paused and continued, "During this period, all the experts of the World Medical Association have discussed old Maldini's condition, but no one can do anything about it. Since I saw your magical medical skills some time ago, I recommended traditional Chinese medicine to old Maldini. Mr. Old Maldini likes the culture of Wuxia very much and does not reject traditional Chinese medicine, so he accepted my proposal and is ready to come to Wuxia to see you." After a detailed introduction, Qin Haodong understood the whole story. He thought to himself that a celebrity was really a celebrity. It was so troublesome to see a doctor. James asked, "Teacher, do you have a treatment plan for Mr. Maldini's disease?" The prerequisite is not to use anesthetics to keep his mind clear. He was very concerned about this. If even Qin Haodong had no solution, then this trip would be in vain. "Don't worry, it's just a small tumor. It's easy to deal with." Qin Haodong's words immediately excited James. If someone else had said this, he might have doubted it, but at this time, he had no doubt about Qin Haodong's medical skills. After hanging up the phone, Qin Haodong began to be busy again. Knowing that he had returned to work in the infirmary, all the employees in the group began to come to see him. After a busy day, the next day was the weekend. However, Lin Momo was too busy with the group's work and had to work overtime, so Qin Haodong took care of the little fellow. He had no problem with this and enjoyed the time with his daughter very much. After breakfast, he drove Tang Tang, Dumao and Ermao out to play. He took the little fellow to the green space in the suburbs to fly kites and play football. The father and daughter had a great time playing with the two dogs. Although it had only been half a month, Dumao and Ermao had grown a lot. They were more than half a meter tall and much stronger than ordinary dogs. Even the little fellow could run wildly on their backs. Gao Song, the deputy director of the health bureau, was on duty today. The health bureau was different from the police station. Usually, there was nothing to do during holidays. The reason why the leaders were on duty was to prevent unexpected incidents. Gao Song had been on duty for several years, and nothing had happened. Today, he was sitting in the office, drinking tea and watching TV. Suddenly, the phone in the duty room rang. At first, he didn't pay much attention to it. He glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was the phone number of Director Pan Gaofeng. He quickly grabbed the phone. "Chief, I'm Xiao Gao. Do you have any instructions?" Although he was the deputy director, he was much worse than Director Pan Gaofeng in both rank and experience, so he was very respectful on the phone. On the other side of the phone, Pan Gaofeng said eagerly, "I just received a notice from the Provincial Department of Sanity that old Maldini from M country will come to Jiangnan City for medical treatment soon." "What? Old Maldini came to Jiangnan City to see a doctor? How is that possible?" Although Gao Song worked in the health system, he still knew Maldini's reputation. He was a big shot in the world. If he was sick, there were many famous doctors in the world who would rush to see him. How could he come to Jiangnan City? Pan Gaofeng said, "I have received a clear notice from the Provincial Department of Sanity. At the same time, the director also called me. This news can't be wrong. You don't have to doubt it and pay attention to confidentiality. Not many people know about this. Don't leak the news of Maldini's illness." "Chief, don't worry. I will do a good job of confidentiality," Gao Song said quickly. As a leading cadre of the health system, he still knew this kind of confidentiality discipline. He asked again, "Director, what do you need me to do?" Pan Gaofeng said, "I'm going to Jiangnan Hospital now to prepare for the reception. You immediately contact a college student named Qin Haodong and take him to Jiangnan Hospital to treat Maldini. Remember, you must pick him up in person. Now I will tell you his personal situation and phone number. Write it down quickly. Don't make a mistake." Just now, the Provincial Department of Sanity informed that Maldini and his party would arrive in Jiangnan City in the afternoon. The preparation time was very short, so Pan Gaofeng was very anxious. He immediately hung up the phone after saying the main thing. Gao Song put down the phone and looked at the information in his hand with a disdainful smile. Qin Haodong, a senior student of Jiangnan Medical University, had interned in Jiangnan Hospital. What kind of person was old Maldini? He could make the financial world tremble with a stamp of his foot. How could such a big shot find an intern who had not graduated to treat him? The director must have drunk too much, or it was a slip of the tongue. How could this happen? According to Gao Song's guess, The reason why he needed to take Qin Haodong to the hospital was that he needed to do some preliminary preparation or auxiliary work. But it was impossible for him to treat old Maldini. For a nobody like him, it was a great blessing for his ancestors to even see Maldini. Thinking of this, he directly picked up the phone on the table and dialed Qin Haodong's phone number. Although Pan Gaofeng just told him to pick him up in person, Gao Song didn't take it seriously at all. What a joke! He was the deputy director of the sanitary bureau, a deputy county cadre. Qin Haodong was just a college student who had not graduated. How could the deputy director pick him up in person? In particular, Qin Haodong was a medical student. The medical qualification certificate of a medical university graduate needed to be issued by the sanitary bureau. Whether he opened a clinic or worked in a hospital in the future, his job was in the hands of the sanitary bureau. He was a real power figure in the sanitary bureau, which made Gao Song feel particularly superior to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong played with the little fellow very happily. Near noon, the mobile phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He let the little fellow play with Damao and Ermao on the grass, and he picked up the phone. "Hello, are you Qin Haodong?" Gao Song was not polite to Qin Haodong at all. It turned out that he was used to being arrogant in daily life. At this time, he really didn't pay attention to a student. Qin Haodong frowned slightly and said, "I am Qin Haodong." Gao Song said, "Come to my office right away." "Be quick." Hearing what the other party said, Qin Haodong hung up the phone directly. He didn't even have the interest to continue talking to this self-righteous guy. Gao Song was speaking arrogantly. Suddenly, there was a beep from the phone. He couldn't believe his ears. A little medical university student dared to hang up the deputy director's phone. There must be a problem with the signal, or he doesn't know that he is the deputy director. Finding a suitable reason for himself, Gao Song dialed Qin Haodong's phone again. Seeing that it was still the same phone number, Qin Haodong hung up the phone directly. This time, Gao Song was even more furious. It was clear that it was not a bad signal, but the other party really hung up his phone. If it was in normal times, he would not call this number anymore. Later, he would use his own means to make the other party apologize to him. But now the situation was urgent and he had no time to think about it. He could only dial Qin Haodong's number again. Seeing that the other party called him again and again, Qin Haodong felt a burst of annoyance. If he was not afraid that Lin Momo could not find him later, he would directly turn off the phone. At this time, the little fellow ran over with sweat on her head and cried, "Papa, your phone is ringing. Answer it quickly." In desperation, Qin Haodong pressed the answer button. As soon as the phone was connected, he heard an angry roar over there, "Boy, do you know who I am? I am Gao Song, the deputy director of the sanitary bureau. How dare you hang up on me? Believe it or not, I will." Gao Song finally found a chance to vent his anger. But before he could show off his power as the deputy director, there was a beep from the other side of the phone. This time, Qin Haodong was not polite. He not only hung up the phone of the self-proclaimed deputy director, but also put him on the blacklist. Although he knew that the fool on the phone was the deputy director of the sanitary bureau, what could he do? He still would not put him in Emperor Greenwood's eyes. He had roamed the cultivation world for so many years, and he had always been respectful to others. If he asked nicely, even if it was a flower beggar on the roadside, he would give full respect. However, if it was someone who pretended to be pretentious like today, he would slap him even if he was the Emperor of Heaven. Gao Song looked at the black screen in his hand. He was so angry that he almost went crazy. Then he slowly calmed down and began to call Qin Haodong's number again, but found that he could not get through at all. He grabbed the office phone of the duty room on the table and dialed Qin Haodong's number again. After the phone was connected, he cried, "Boy, did you hear it? I am Gao Song, the deputy director of the sanitary bureau. If you dare to hang up on me again." Before he could say the threat, there was a busy tone from the other side of the phone, and then he could not get through again. Obviously, he was put on the blacklist again. Gao Song was a little dumbfounded. Just now, Director Pan Gaofeng had repeatedly told him to take Qin Haodong to the hospital. In this situation, he didn't even know where Qin Haodong was. How could he find him? However, he naturally did not dare to tell Pan Gaofeng about this situation. After thinking about it, in order to find Qin Haodong, he called a classmate of the Public Security Bureau and located Qin Haodong's location by technical means. Then he drove there in a hurry. Qin Haodong played with the little fellow on the green space for a while. Looking at his daughter, who was already tired and sweating, he said, "Tang Tang, you must be tired. We should go back to eat." "Okay." Tang Tang is hungry. Dumao and Ermao are also hungry. Qin Haodong took out a towel and wiped the sweat on the little fellow's head. When he was about to get on the car with her, a black Audi A6 came quickly and stopped in front of Qin Haodong with a cloud of dust. Chapter 136. Qin Haodong glanced at the middle-aged fat man in front of him. He had already heard that this was the person on the phone. He could not help but say in a cold voice, "Please be polite to me." "Me? Polite to you? Boy, do you know who I am? I'm Gao Song, the Deputy Director of the Sanitary Bureau. You, a student, dare to talk to me like this? Be careful that I won't let you graduate from school." Gao Song was full of anger. It was not easy for him to see Qin Haodong in person. He originally wanted to vent his anger. Unexpectedly, before he finished speaking, Qin Haodong turned around and walked directly to the car with the little fellow. In order to take Dumao and Ermao with him today, he drove the Honda. If he drove the Lamborghini Centenario, he believed that Gao Song would immediately shut up now. "Hey, don't go. Don't be polite. I haven't finished speaking yet." Gao Song did not expect that Qin Haodong would not give him face after he showed his identity. He became angrier and angrier. He came to Qin Haodong in a few steps and stretched out his arms to stop him. "Qin Haodong, did you hear me clearly? I'm the Deputy Director of the Sanitary Bureau. No matter who you are, if you can speak human language, then say it. If you can't, then get out of here." Qin Haodong had lost his patience with this self-righteous guy. Gao Song was about to get angry, but he finally held it back when he thought of his task today. He took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and said, "I have something to ask you." "Say it." Qin Haodong had already guessed that what Gao Song was going to say must have something to do with old Maldini. Because he had promised James before, he gave him another chance. Gao Song said, "A super distinguished guest came to Jiangnan City and asked to see you. You go to Jiangnan Hospital with me immediately. But you have to be polite when meeting distinguished guests. You can't take children with you. You quickly get rid of this little girl and then go with me." He originally wanted to ask Qin Haodong to let others take care of the child, but he was so angry just now that he even said to get rid of the little fellow, which suddenly touched Qin Haodong's reverse scale. His daughter was his life. But the guy in front of him was full of shit. What did he mean by getting rid of her? Qin Haodong shouted angrily. "Get out of here. You." Gao Song was scolded until his face was swollen. But he didn't realize what he had done wrong. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't want to cooperate, he had to tell him everything. "Boy, it's old Maldini who came to Jiangnan City this time. Did old Maldini know? An ordinary person would have to spend millions of dollars just to meet him. You should be grateful that he's willing to meet you." His spittle flew everywhere, but Qin Haodong had completely lost his patience. He raised his hand and slapped him away. Then he took the little fellow to the car. Gao Song was completely stunned. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong dared to beat him. He got up from the ground angrily. When he was about to rush over to argue with Qin Haodong again, he saw two big white dogs standing in front of him and growling. Although Dumao and Ermao were not adults yet, they already had the demeanor of a dog king. Gao Song was so scared that he almost peed his pants and ran to his car. Dumao and Ermao, get in the car. Qin Haodong called back the two dogs and drove away. Gao Song returned to the car and looked at his swollen face. He gnashed his teeth with hatred. He really couldn't understand how a student who hadn't graduated from the medical university dared to look down on him, the deputy director, and even dared to beat him. But things had been done like this. It was impossible to ask Qin Haodong to go there. He could only hurry to Jiangnan Hospital to explain the situation to Pan Gaofeng. In his heart, Qin Haodong was just a student who hadn't graduated. Even if old Maldini came, it would be the same with or without him. Jiangnan had always been the home of apricot trees and famous doctors. It was easy to find some famous doctors to treat old Maldini. As long as old Maldini was sent away, he must teach Qin Haodong a lesson and let him know the consequences of offending a deputy director. Thinking of this, he started the car and drove to Jiangnan Hospital. When he arrived, a super luxurious motorcade was parked in front of the hospital. Any of these cars was worth more than millions of dollars. At this time, Pan Gaofeng, the director of the Sanitary Bureau, and Wen Changjiang, the director of Jiangnan Hospital, were receiving a middle-aged white man. The middle-aged man was about 40 years old. He had a big beard on his face, but it was very well taken care of. He was wearing a tuxedo made by Italian hand, which looked very dignified. He was Kyukok, the butler sent to Wuxia by old Maldini first. The most eye-catching thing was that there were 20 bodyguards in black standing neatly behind Kyukok. There were white people, black people, and yellow people among them. The common feature was that they were all tall and strong, with bulging muscles all over their bodies. They also had another important characteristic, which was that each of them wore a red hat on their heads, which looked a little strange. Gao Song had also seen many bodyguards of rich people, but they could not be compared with the bodyguard team in front of him at all. Although he was not a martial artist, he could also feel the cold murderous aura exuding from these people. Obviously, they had walked through a storm of bullets. According to the arrangement of the Provincial Department of Sanity, Pan Gaofeng was in charge of receiving Kyukok who arrived earlier. When he was about to take these foreigners into the hospital, he saw Gao Song running to him alone. He frowned and asked, "Director Gao, where's Mr. Qin that I asked you to pick up?" "Director Pan, I just went to pick him up according to your order. But this guy is so unreasonable. He not only refused to come, but also beat me." Gao Song said and raised his hand to point at his swollen face. "Director Pan, my face is still swollen. In my opinion, there is no need for us to find such an ignorant, and violent college student. What's more, we should inform his school to punish him. It's better to expel him from Jiangnan Medical University." "Nonsense. Qin Haodong is the person that old Maldini asked for. The Ministry of Health told us to invite him here today." Pan Gaofeng glanced at him and said discontentedly, "Did you offend Mr. Qin?" No. Gao Song stammered. Seeing him like this, Pan Gaofeng already knew what had happened. He knew very well what kind of person he was as a deputy director. He always had eyes on the top of his head. He was eager to lick the soles of his shoes when he saw his leaders, but he was arrogant when he saw ordinary people. He must have put on the airs of a deputy director and annoyed Qin Haodong. "Well, I'll invite him in person," Pan Gaofeng said and turned to Kyukok. "Mr. Kyukok, you go to the conference room and have a rest. I'll invite Mr. Qin here." "No need, Director Pan. I'll go." As the butler of old Maldini, Kyukok was indeed not an ordinary person. He was proficient in 6 languages, including Wuxia language. He had just heard the conversation between Pan Gaofeng and Zhang Song clearly. He was very dissatisfied. Who was old Maldini? In the past, even the head of state would rush to receive him when he went to other countries. But this young man named Qin Haodong didn't give him face today. Director Pan, Mr. Maldini sent me here to solve all kinds of problems. Let me handle it. I'll definitely invite Qin Haodong to Jiangnan Hospital on time. Pan Gaofeng said, "That's not appropriate, Mr. Kyukok. You're a guest. How can I trouble you? Let me go." No. Kyukok waved his hand and said, "Mr. Maldini will arrive in Jiangnan City soon. His time is very precious. We can't waste even a minute. To ensure Mr. Qin's arrival, I'll go. Director Pan, you only need to arrange a guide for me." "All right." Seeing that Kyukok insisted, Pan Gaofeng couldn't refuse. He turned to Gao Song and said, "You lead the way for Mr. Kyukok." "Yes, Director. I'll take Mr. Kyukok to find that guy." Gao Song got on his extended Rolls-Royce with Kyukok. The 20 bodyguards behind him also got on the car. They drove out of Jiangnan Hospital in a mighty manner. After calling his classmate in the Public Security Bureau again, Gao Song guided the motorcade to the direction of Daddy Security Company according to the latest location. Sitting in the car, looking at the two strong bodyguards beside Kyukok, Gao Song had an idea. He said, "Mr. Kyukok, I tell you, this guy named Qin Haodong is extremely arrogant and hard to talk to. He won't give you face even if you go there." As the butler of old Maldini, Kyukok was also an extremely arrogant person. He said with great confidence, "It's okay. I'll invite him here. I won't let him waste Mr. Maldini's precious time." Gao Song said, "What if he doesn't give you face and refuses to come no matter what?" Kyukok smiled proudly and said, "It's okay. My men are from the most famous special team of M country, the Red Beret. They are absolutely capable to invite Mr. Qin to Jiangnan Hospital without wasting a second of Mr. Maldini's time." Gao Song was secretly delighted. He had just been slapped by Qin Haodong, and he would let Kyukok's men teach that arrogant guy a lesson later. Qin Haodong didn't know about it. He went back to Daddy Security Company with the little fellow and asked Nalan Wushuang to take Tang Tang to the bathroom to take a bath. He gathered all the members of Daddy Security Company to check their cultivation progress. After receiving Qin Haodong's order, Zhang Tiniu whistled immediately. They were indeed well-trained soldiers. In less than 20 seconds, all the members of Daddy Security Company at home had gathered at the training ground. They were all elites who had been on the battlefield for a long time. When they stood together, they immediately gave off a strong sense of killing. With his hands behind his back, Qin Haodong walked around these people, checked them one by one, and nodded with satisfaction. After taking the marrow-cleansing pill, these people had stepped into the ranks of warriors without exception. Together with their rich experience in fighting with enemies and their unique Tang sect cultivation methods, they believed that they could completely match the warriors in the third level of overt power. Some excellent ones could even reach the fourth or fifth level of overt power. Hearing the noise outside, Ma Wenjue, who was practicing in the room, ran out. When he saw Qin Haodong, he said excitedly, "Dongzi, I can already control my power. Do you want to practice with me?" The dragon spell he practiced was a cultivation method, and he had reached the foundation establishment stage. After controlling his power, he defeated all the people of Daddy Security Company from beginning to end, which made him so confident that he wanted to compete with Qin Haodong. At this moment, a sound of motor sounded. More than a dozen luxury cars drove into Daddy Security Company. After the cars were parked, Gao Song guided Kyukok to get off the car and walk to Qin Haodong, followed by those aggressive bodyguards. Chapter 137. After Gao Song got off the car with Kyukok, he walked to Qin Haodong with his head held high, but his swollen cheek looked a little funny. Before he got close to Qin Haodong, he shouted to Qin Haodong arrogantly, "Boy, Mr. Kyukok is here to invite you in person, don't go if you have guts." In fact, He did that just to provoke the conflict between Qin Haodong and Kyukok, so that Kyukok's red beret could teach Qin Haodong a lesson, and then take him to Jiangnan Hospital, so that he could take revenge for the slap he just got. Kyukok frowned slightly, but didn't say anything. As a shrewd butler, he could see Gao Song's intention, but he didn't care. In his opinion, this young man named Qin Haodong had to follow him anyway since he was going there in person. Pig head, who are you? How dare you talk to my big brother like that? Although Ma Wenjue always joked with Qin Haodong on the surface, he respected him very much in his heart, and he would never allow anyone to disrespect his good brother. Gao Song was despised in succession today, and now he was called a pig head, which made him angry. He pointed at Ma Wenjue and shouted, "Boy, who are you calling a pig head? I'm the deputy director of the sanitary bureau, call me that again if you have guts." "That's enough, why are you yelling at a pig?" Qin Haodong raised his hand to stop Ma Wenjue, who was about to lose his temper. Gao Song was so angry, but Kyukok said at this time, "Hello, are you Mr. Qin Haodong?" "Yes, I am. What can I do for you in my company?" Qin Haodong asked. "Hello, Mr. Qin, I'm Kyukok, the butler of Mr. Old Maldini." After introducing himself, Kyukok said proudly, "I'm here to invite Mr. Qin to Jiangnan Hospital on behalf of my master. Please hurry up and come with me. My master's time is very precious. You can't imagine the loss of every minute of delay." Qin Haodong frowned, he didn't expect another self-righteous guy. Different from the arrogant Gao Song, Kyukok looked polite, but there was a kind of arrogance in his bones. He didn't take Qin Haodong and Wuxia seriously at all. He asked coldly, "Mr. Kyukok, does your master know what you're doing?" The reason why he asked was to make sure whether Kyukok did it on his own or Old Maldini asked him to do it. If Old Maldini was as arrogant as him, he wouldn't treat him at all, even if he was a world-famous financial magnate. Kyukok smiled arrogantly and said, "As I said, my master's time is precious, and he has no energy to deal with these small things. Although he didn't ask me to invite you, as his steward, I have to prepare everything in advance." He really didn't know why Old Maldini was looking for Qin Haodong, nor had he heard about Qin Haodong's magical medical skills from James. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to be so presumptuous. After hearing Kyukok's words, Qin Haodong immediately understood that it was Kyukok's own decision today. He said coldly, "Go back and tell your master that he came to Wuxia for medical treatment. Do you understand? If he wants to see a doctor, let him come to me instead of me fawning over him." Kyukok's face darkened and he said coldly, "Mr. Qin, please watch your words. My master is the world-famous Old Maldini." "Old Maldini?" Qin Haodong sneered and said, "In my eyes, your master's identity is no nobler than a beggar in Wuxia. He's just a patient who came to seek medical treatment." Seeing that Qin Haodong compared his master with a beggar, Kyukok said with a gloomy look, "Mr. Qin, it's very disrespectful to my master." Qin Haodong said carelessly, "Wuxia has always been a country of etiquette. But if you want me to respect you, you have to learn to respect others first." Kyukok said with a sarcastic face, "Mr. Qin, I hope you can understand that your identity is not comparable to Old Maldini's. So you have to obey his invitation and go to Jiangnan Hospital with us now." Gao Song also cried, "That's right. You're just a poor student. Mr. Maldini has already given you face by meeting you. Go with Mr. Kyukok, don't waste Mr. Maldini's precious time." Qin Haodong glanced at Gao Song. Although it was just a glance, a cold breath made Gao Song shiver all over and shut his mouth immediately. "I've always thought that people are equal. But if you have to distinguish who's higher and who's lower, it's my identity that's nobler than your master." Although he didn't say much, Qin Haodong's words were domineering and high-spirited, showing the arrogance of Emperor Greenwood. "Ridiculous, ignorant Wuxia man. How dare you compare yourself with Old Maldini? You're too arrogant." Kyukok shouted to Qin Haodong, "Since you don't want to cooperate, I have to let my bodyguards take you away." "Bodyguards? Hearing Kyukok's words, Chin Haodong also laughed and said, Mr. Kyukok, don't you see that I run a security company? I have a lot of bodyguards here. Your bodyguards can't take me away at all. No, Kyukok waved his hand and said, Mr. Chin, you're really ignorant. Old Maldini's bodyguards are all retired soldiers of the Red Beret. They're not the same as your ordinary bodyguards in Wuxia. There's no comparison between them. The people of Daddy's security company were standing behind Chin Haodong. Hearing Kyukok's words, they immediately became angry. But because Chin Haodong was standing there, they didn't say anything out of discipline. Chin Haodong looked at Kyukok and burst into laughter. He said, how about this, Mr. Kyukok, as long as your bodyguards can defeat anyone in our security company, I'll go with you immediately without saying anything. Mr. Chin, that's what you said. You must keep your word. Said Kyukok. He didn't want to force Chin Haodong to Jiangnan Hospital. Otherwise, if old Maldini was really unhappy, he would be in serious trouble. There's an old saying in Wuxia that a gentleman keeps his word. Of course I'll keep my word. You can choose anyone in my yard. As long as you can defeat one of them, I'll go with you immediately and do whatever you want me to do. That's great. Honey, you'll know how arrogant you are in a moment. Kyukok was very happy. In his opinion, Chin Haodong's bodyguards couldn't be compared with his tall and strong Red Beret special forces. Any one of them could beat Chin Haodong's bodyguards to the ground. He turned around and said to the bodyguard captain, Kasano, Captain Kasano, you heard that. It's time to show these Wuxia people the power of our country's warriors. Kasano was a 2-meter-tall white man. The muscles all over his body were like cast iron. He looked tall and mighty, full of momentum. He did have some real skills. He used to be the captain of the Red Beret, but he couldn't resist the temptation of old Maldini's high salary, so he retired from the army and became the captain of the bodyguard team. Don't worry, Mr. Kyukok. I'll take care of all these Wuxia people. If I can't even teach these weak Wuxia monkeys a lesson, I'll bark like a dog in front of everyone today. Then he strode to Chin Haodong and said arrogantly, boy, send out your best bodyguard. If he's too weak, I'm afraid I can kill him with one slap. After saying that, Kasano burst into arrogant laughter, and the Red Beret members behind him followed suit. When he was done laughing, Chin Haodong said, I've already told Mr. Kyukok that you can choose anyone in our yard as long as you can defeat one of them. Kyukok stared at him and said, boy, you're really arrogant, but you won't be so arrogant in a moment. He turned around to look at the line of Daddy's security company and saw Zhang Tiniu standing at the end of the line. As a Wuxia man, Zhang Tiniu was 190 meters tall, which made him stand out in the line, so Kasano valued him. I'll choose the big guy. If I choose the small one, I'll bully you. You won't be convinced. Kasano let out another burst of arrogant laughter after saying that. Zhang Tiniu, step out. Chin Haodong shouted to the line. Yes. Zhang Tiniu strode to Chin Haodong. Chin Haodong said to him, country's devil has chosen you. If you can't beat him within 3 moves, I'll leave the toilets of Daddy's security company to you. You'll clean the toilets for me every day. As soon as Chin Haodong said that, the people of Daddy's security company burst into laughter. They had been holding back their strength to teach these arrogant country guys a lesson. But Kasano chose Zhang Tiniu, so they couldn't do anything. Yes, boss. No need for 3 moves. 1 move is enough. Zhang Tiniu's answer was like thunder, full of confidence. He had been practicing martial arts since he was a child. When he grew up, he joined the army and became the king of soldiers in the Wuxia army. He had been famous for a while, but later he retired because of injuries. Now, after being cured by Chin Haodong, he not only took the marrow cleansing pill, but also practiced the Tang sex skills. His cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th level of overt power, and he was about to enter the 9th level. If he still couldn't take care of a Red Beret member with his cultivation, then he would really have to plunge his head into the toilet and die. After that, Zhang Tiniu turned his head and walked toward Kasano. When he saw Zhang Tiniu's appearance, Kasano, who had been arrogant, was stunned at first. Then he showed a face of fear and asked in a trembling voice, You are Nyoshin. I'm Zhang Tiniu. Who are you? Zhang Tiniu stopped and looked at the tall white man in front of him. He seemed familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen him. Nyoshin. Aren't you dead? Why are you a security guard here? At this time, Kasano was sure that the Wuxia man in front of him was Nyoshin, who had cast a shadow on him for the rest of his life. When he joined the Red Beret Special Combat Team, he quickly became a captain with excellent performance. His skills could be ranked in the top 10 in the whole Red Beret, which made him full of confidence and arrogance. But soon after, the Red Beret had a private exchange with the Sharp Sword Special Combat Team of Wuxia. At that time, the Wuxia side sent Zhang Tiniu, the Soldier King. As a result, Zhang Tiniu defeated 5 elite soldiers of the Red Beret one after another, including Kasano. At that time, Kasano was punched in the chest by Zhang Tiniu. 3 of his sternum were broken, and he was injured and vomited blood. He lay in bed for 2 months before he resumed training. This fiasco became a shadow in his life. Not only him, but all the Red Beret at that time were shocked by Zhang Tiniu's amazing skills. They admired and feared him, so they gave him the name Nyoshin. Fortunately, Zhang Tiniu retired because of injury, and Kasano never met the man who made him afraid again. There was a rumor that Nyoshin had died, which gradually dispersed the shadow in his heart. Chapter 138. When Zhang Tiniu defeated Kasano, he not only knocked down his body, but also his spirit. Kasano had been improving himself all these years, but he still didn't have the confidence to face that earth-shattering punch. Fortunately, Zhang Tiniu was missing, which helped him slowly walk out of the shadow of failure. But when he saw that man again, the great sense of fear enveloped him again, and he didn't have the courage to face Zhang Tiniu at all. Zhang Tiniu knocked down Kasano with 1 punch easily, so he didn't have a deep impression of him. He couldn't remember who this man was after thinking for a long time, so he just stopped thinking about it. Anyway, it didn't matter to him anymore. Boy, do it! He shouted to Kasano. Kyukok also noticed that something was wrong. Zhang Tiniu looked very strong, but he was still 1 size smaller than Kasano. He didn't understand why his bodyguard captain lost his courage and seemed to be very scared. He shouted from behind, Kasano, do it now. Show this Wuxia man how powerful you are. Kasano's forehead was sweating. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, wanting to fight with Zhang Tiniu again. But after several attempts, he slowly loosened his fists, and he couldn't summon up the courage to do it. The man in front of him was not an ordinary person. He was the ox god who had cast a shadow on the whole Red Beret. He was a man he couldn't resist at all. Just when everyone was baffled, Kasano said dejectedly, I admit defeat. What? What did you say? Kyukok couldn't believe his ears. He shouted crazily, Kasano, you're a man. You can't give up like this. Kasano turned his head. He felt much more relaxed when he wasn't facing Zhang Tiniu. He said, I'm sorry, Mr. Kyukok. I'm really no match for him. But I'll keep my promise. Then he really barked like a dog. Woof, 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 Kyukok was completely dumbfounded. He didn't know who this big man was, and he scared his captain so much that he barked like a dog. It was beyond his imagination. The others on the side of Red Beret didn't know Zhang Tiniu, nor did they know that he was the legendary ox god. Therefore, they were dumbfounded by Kasano's performance. The members of Daddy Security Company burst into laughter at first, and then they applauded for Zhang Tiniu. Ma Wenjua said in surprise, F*ck, this country guy is so screwed. He's so scared. Was the black yak really that scary? When we practiced this morning, he couldn't even take 10 of my moves. Qin Haodong glared at him. A master in the Zhuji period dared to compete with someone in the 8th level of the overt power, and he was so confident. The laying foundation realm was the bottleneck between obvious strength and inward strength. Although there seemed to be a thin line between them, there was a huge gap between them. If Ma Wenzhua was familiar with the moves of Kung Fu, Zhang Tiniu might not even be able to take 3 moves from him. At this time, Kyukok came to himself and roared at Kasano crazily, "Shame, it's really a shame. You don't even have the courage to fight. From now on, you're no longer the captain of the bodyguard team, let alone a member of the bodyguard team. A coward like you doesn't deserve to stay in Mr. Old Maldini's team." "I'm sorry." Kasano didn't say much. He directly bowed to Kyukok, then turned around and left Daddy's security company. From then on, he had been living in Europe and the United States, and had never stepped into Wuxia in his life. Qin Haodong looked at Kyukok and said with a smile, "Mr. Butler, is it necessary for us to continue?" Kyukok said angrily, "Of course. It was just an accident. We haven't started yet." He turned around and shouted to the remaining bodyguards, "If any of you can defeat a Wuxia man, you'll be the captain of the bodyguard team from now on, and you'll get a reward of $1 million. In the beginning, these bodyguards were afraid of Zhang Tiniu because of Kasano's withdrawal. But there was always a brave man with a high reward. After hearing Kyukok's words, a big black man stood out. His name was Cruyff. Although he was not as good as Kasano, he was also one of the best in the team. Cruyff looked tall and strong, but he was not stupid. After he represented the Red Beret, he said to Qin Haodong, "Sir, I can choose anyone to be my opponent. Is that right?" Kyukok felt frustrated when he heard that, but he had to admit that Cruyff was smart. The big man who could scare Kasano away was not easy to deal with, and it was a good choice to avoid him. Qin Haodong nodded with a smile and said, "Yes, you can choose anyone in the yard, including me. You're a distinguished boss. I won't choose you." Cruyff thought to himself, "Even your employees are so powerful. I don't know how powerful you are as a boss. I'd be a fool to choose you." He first looked around the team of Daddy's security company. As an experienced soldier, he could see that these people all had a strong murderous aura, and they were not to be trifled with. Finally, he turned his eyes and fell on Ma Wenzhua. In his eyes, this young man was white and tender, without any muscles, and he didn't have that kind of iron-blooded aura. He should be the best choice. "Mr. Qin, can I choose this one?" Cruyff pointed to Ma Wenzhua and said. After he said that, the people of Daddy's security company became restless. This Lao He was really stupid to choose Ma Wenzhua, the devil. He wouldn't even know how he died later. After all, Ma Wenzhua had beaten all the members of Daddy's security company from beginning to end this morning. He deserved to be the top master here. "Are you sure?" Qin Haodong asked with a smile. But in Cruyff's eyes, everyone's behavior was showing their weakness. He thought he had finally found the weakness of Daddy's security company, so he quickly said, "Of course I'm sure. I hope Mr. Qin can keep his word and don't regret it." "Well, I won't regret it. I hope you won't regret it later." He looked back at Ma Wenzhua and said, "Brother Ma, you've been despised." Ma Wenzhua felt depressed. He was the owner of the Kailan sacred body, but he chose this Lao He as the weakling. He strode to the center of the field and said to Zhang Tiniu, "Black Yak, you go back. I'll teach this Lao He a lesson." Zhang Tiniu looked at Cruyff with pity. He had angered Brother Ma. This Lao He should pray for himself. Cruyff didn't know what a stupid thing he had done. He was still complacent about his choice. He made a fighting pose in the field and shouted to Ma Wenzhua, "Wuxia man, I can let you have 3 moves first." Ma Wenzhua smiled playfully and said, that's what you said. Don't blame me later. Cruyff still wanted to say something, but just as he opened his mouth, he saw Ma Wenzhua in front of him turn into a shadow. Then, his chest felt as if it had been hit by a train, and he shot out like a cannonball. By the time the others reacted, Cruyff had already been sent flying by Ma Wenzhua's kick. Due to the force of the kick and the speed at which he was sent flying, the red cap on his head was left on the spot and fell to the ground with a thud. At the same time, Cruyff was like a soccer ball kicked by a master. He drew a beautiful banana arc and shot into the soccer goal in the distance. The whole field was silent. No one had expected that Cruyff, an excellent member of the Red Beret, would be so vulnerable in front of this young man. He couldn't even react before he was kicked. He was defeated so cleanly and pleasing to the eye. Kyukok was even more shocked. He adjusted the gold-rimmed glasses on his face and couldn't believe what he had seen. In his impression, the Red Beret was definitely the elite of the elite, and every member had extraordinary combat ability. But today, they had suffered consecutive setbacks in a small security company in Wuxia. First, the captain had been scared off, and now, Cruyff had been sent flying with a kick. He could not accept it for a while. Looking back at Qin Haodong, who still looked calm, he finally understood. He had thought that this young man was just bragging to him, but now it seemed that he was confident enough. Everyone in his company was strong enough to kill his men in seconds. At this time, Cruyff crawled out of the soccer goal and spat out several mouthfuls of blood. Then he walked back with a weary look. He should be glad that he came today. If it was yesterday, Ma Wenzhua wouldn't have been able to control his power, and that kick would have sent him to God. He walked to Kyukok and said with shame, "I'm sorry. I've embarrassed you. You can go back now." Kyukok waved his hand helplessly. Then he shouted to the others in the team, "Who else wants to challenge me? I'll give him $2 million as long as he can beat a Wuxia man." After he finished speaking, the team was silent this time. No one stood out. Although there would always be brave men when there was a great reward, it was only when there was hope. Ma Wenzhua's kick just now was too shocking, and it completely scared everyone out of their wits. They were very familiar with each other. Cruyff was definitely the top in the team. Even he couldn't take one move from Qin Haodong, let alone the others. What's going on? Aren't you the elite of M country? Aren't you the Red Beret? Don't you even have the courage to fight? Kyukok asked a series of questions. First, he couldn't let go of his face. Second, how could he face old Maldini if he went back like this? At this time, an Asian man suddenly stood out in the team. He was Saburo Watanabe from Neon. He said loudly, "Mr. Kyukok, I'd like to challenge a Wuxia man." Kyukok was happy, but he still felt strange. This Saburo Watanabe's strength was only below average among his 20 bodyguards. He didn't know how he got the courage. "Great, Watanabe, you're a real warrior." Kyukok patted on Saburo Watanabe's shoulder and said, "Mr. Kyukok, I won't let you down." Saburo Watanabe said righteously. Then he strode to Qin Haodong and asked again, "Mr. Qin, are you sure I can challenge anyone in this yard?" Qin Haodong nodded and confirmed, "As long as you beat one of us, you win." Saburo Watanabe smiled obscenely. He raised his hand and pointed to the distance, saying, "I want to challenge that woman." Chapter 139. Seeing Saburo Watanabe's choice, Kyukok was too ashamed to raise his head. He had heard that Neon people were wretched, but today he finally saw it. He had just praised Saburo Watanabe as a warrior. It turned out that this guy had already planned to take advantage of the loophole left by Qin Haodong's words. However, even his teammates felt that it was shameful for him to challenge a woman, and they all lowered their heads. The people of Daddy Security Company looked at Saburo Watanabe with sarcasm and schadenfreude in their eyes. There were 2 super bodyguards in the company. One was the boss, and the other was the woman who made all men lose their self-esteem. Qi Weiner's cultivation was higher than Qin Haodong's, and her fighting skills were better than Ma Wenjue's. She must be the #1 master in Daddy Security Company. Now this wretched neon man, who was ready to take advantage of the situation, chose the #1 master all of a sudden. He was so unlucky. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Are you sure you want to choose her? I advise you to change to another person." "No. I'm going to challenge this woman. I won't change to another person no matter how powerful she is," Saburo Watanabe said righteously and confidently. He had finally found a loophole in Qin Haodong's words. How could he change to another person? Besides, he was not a strong fighter, and there was no hope of winning if he changed to another person. After that, he said to Qin Haodong, "You're not going back on your words, are you? We have a deal. You must keep your words." "Why would I go back on my words? Since you want to die, then go to hell." Qin Haodong turned his head and said to Qi Weiner, who walked to him, "This neon friend wants to challenge you. There are so many men, why would he challenge a woman like me?" Qi Weiner didn't have a good impression of neon people, so she didn't want to fight with Saburo Watanabe. "Mr. Watanabe chose to challenge you because you are a woman. He thinks that neon women are easy to bully," Qin Haodong said with a smile. He didn't mind to help Watanabe, who was courting death. As expected, Qi Weiner looked cold and said to Saburo Watanabe, "Come here." After that, she swayed her sexy body and came to the center of the training ground. Looking at the curvaceous figure of the woman in front of him, Saburo Watanabe couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He even fantasized that if he could defeat this woman, he might have the opportunity to have another 300 rounds of battle on the bed. Qi Wan seemed to be aware of Saburo Watanabe's wretched eyes and said in a cold voice, "Are you ready?" "Get ready, I'm about to make my move." "I'm ready. If you lose, can you give me your phone number?" Until now, Saburo Watanabe did not take Qi Weiner seriously. He casually posed and asked with a sinister smile. "Die." After Qi Wan spat out these 3 words, she lifted her long and slender leg high and chopped down in the air. She slammed her leg on Saburo Watanabe's head. In Saburo Watanabe's view, a woman could never be stronger than a man. He didn't care about the slender leg in front of him at all. He even raised his hands to grab Qi Wan's calf. His idea was to grab Qi Wan's ankle and then directly pull her into a split in his arms. In this way, he could win and hold the beauty in his arms. It was the best of both worlds. But when his hands touched Qin Weiner's thighs, he suddenly felt a force as strong as Mount Tai. The force was so strong that it was frightening. He hurriedly used all his strength to lift up, but still could not stop Qin Weiner's powerful downward kick. Saburo Watanabe was hit by this leg and knelt on the ground with a plop. Then 2 crisp sounds came, and his 2 kneecaps were abruptly broken. Although the severe pain below almost made Saburo Watanabe faint, he did not dare to relax at all. His arms still struggled to resist the powerful downward leg. Another 2 crisp sounds of broken bones came, and his 2 arms were abruptly kicked off by Qi Wan. Then with a plop, Saburo Watanabe directly lay on the ground and fainted without a sound. After this move, the huge training ground of Daddy Security Company suddenly became silent. Just now when these men saw Qi Wan, her slender and straight legs, they thought that it was sexy, but now they thought that it was fear. This woman was too terrifying. She had knocked Saburo Watanabe unconscious with just 1 kick. It seemed that she had held back. Otherwise, she would have sent the Japanese guy to hell. Gao Song had been watching. He originally wanted to use Kyukok's men to beat Qin Haodong, but he did not expect this result. He really could not figure out why each of Qin Haodong's men was more freakish than the other. Seeing Saburo Watanabe unconscious and Cruyff vomiting blood from time to time, he felt that Qin Haodong's slap on his mouth was too light. It couldn't be any gentler. Kyukok was completely dumbfounded. He had heard that Wuxia was a magical country, but he did not take it seriously at all. He thought that country was the most powerful country in the world. Because of this, he just took his bodyguards and tried to kidnap Qin Haodong to Jiangnan Hospital. Now everything in front of him had given him a vivid lesson. A seemingly ordinary security company had actually pressured his unruly bodyguards to the point that they could not breathe. "Mr. Kyukok, please take your men away. We don't provide treatment here." Although Qin Haodong could cure Saburo Watanabe's injury easily, he was not the Virgin Mary. Of course, he would not cure this wretched Japanese man. Kyukok came to his senses and waved his hand. Two bodyguards behind him came over and carried Saburo Watanabe to the car. "Dear Mr. Qin, I'm sorry. I apologize for my impolite behavior just now." At this moment, Kyukok realized that the young man in front of him was absolutely not an ordinary person, and he could not afford to provoke him. So he immediately lowered his proud head. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "Get out of here with your men. You are just a servant. You have no right to talk to me." Kyukok's old face turned red. He was old Maldini's butler. As the saying went, the door of the Prime Minister was a third-grade official. Although he was indeed a servant, all the rich and powerful people in various countries were polite to him. No one had ever dared to disrespect him like this. But facing the young man in front of him, he did not have the slightest idea to resist. He bowed to Qin Haodong and then left Daddy's security company with his men. Seeing that old Maldini was about to arrive at Jiangnan Hospital, he screwed up. He not only failed to invite Qin Haodong, but also offended him, which made Kyukok very angry. "Mr. Kyukok, wait for me." At this moment, Gao Song ran up from behind. Seeing Gao Song's greasy face, Kyukok was even angrier. If this guy did not make irresponsible remarks at the beginning, he probably would not have offended Qin Haodong. Maybe he would have taken Qin Haodong to the hospital now. "Mr. Zhang, you go back by yourself." After saying that, Kyukok got in the car and closed the door, leaving directly. Gao Song's face was sprayed with dust and exhaust, but he could not care too much at this moment. He had to stop a taxi and rush to Jiangnan Hospital. After Kyukok left, Qin Haodong waved his hand to Zhang Tiniu, asking him to train by himself. "Papa, give me a hug." The little fellow shouted to Qin Haodong with open arms. Seeing his daughter, Qin Haodong immediately became happy and took the little fellow from Nalan Wushuang's arms. "Tang Tang, did you wash yourself clean?" Qin Haodong teased the little fellow. "Of course it's clean. Second mother helped me bathe." The little fellow giggled. "Papa, can I ask you a question?" "Sure, you can ask Papa if you have any questions." "Do you know which is older, Mama's grandmother or second Mama's grandmother?" Qin Haodong almost choked on his saliva. He did not expect that his baby daughter would ask such a sharp question. As the saying goes, if you don't investigate, you don't have the right to speak. Whether it was Lin Momo's or Nalan Wushuang's, he had not studied them carefully. How could he answer this question? Thinking of this, he could not help glancing at Nalan Wushuang's chest. Nalan Wushuang heard the conversation between the father and daughter clearly. She suddenly blushed because she could not do anything to the little fellow. But when she saw Qin Haodong glancing at her chest, she immediately said coquettishly, "What are you looking at?" Ma Wenjue and Qi Wan next to them did not expect that the little fellow would say such a thing. They could not help but convulse with laughter. "Papa, answer me." The little fellow giggled and said. Looking at Nalan Wushuang's murderous eyes, Qin Haodong did not dare to answer this question. No matter if he said she was older or younger, he was afraid that it would lead to a disaster. He could only say, "This question. Papa doesn't know. Papa is so stupid. Let me tell you." The little fellow stretched out her little hand and said with a chuckle, I saw it when you were taking a bath just now. Aunt Wan-er's is a little bigger. Chi Wan had been watching the fun. She did not expect to be implicated. Now it was Nalan Wushuang's turn to laugh. Qin Haodong looked at Nalan Wushuang and then looked at Chi Wan-er. He felt that the two should be equal. Maybe the little fellow could observe more accurately at a close distance. Let's go. Let's go to eat. I'm starving. In order to cover up her shyness, Chi Wan-er quickly turned her head and walked in the direction of the canteen. Qin Haodong and the others also followed her with the little fellow. In the VIP living room of Jiangnan Hospital, Pan Gaofeng, the director of the Sanitary Bureau, and Wen Changjiang, the dean of the hospital, were sitting together with several people. Opposite them sat two white men. One was James, a registered disciple of Qin Haodong and a medical expert of the World Medical Association. The other was a white man about 80 years old. He had lost all his hair. He looked chubby and very kind, like a father next door. He was old Maldini, the world-famous financial magnate. Next to Maldini was a Wuxia man in his 50s. He was Ho Weigua, the director of the Jiangnan Provincial Sanitary Bureau. According to the arrangement of the Wuxia Ministry of Health, he specially accompanied old Maldini to Jiangnan for treatment. Ho Weigua said to Pan Gaofeng, Director Pan, how did you contact Qin Haodong? Why didn't I see him? Pan Gaofeng said with a little embarrassment, I'm sorry, Director Ho. I didn't do it well. Gao Song, the deputy director of our sanitary bureau, went to pick up Mr. Qin. But something unpleasant happened between them, so he couldn't take Mr. Qin to Jiangnan Hospital. Ho Weigua frowned and said, how could this be? Pan Gaofeng said, I don't know the specific situation, but Mr. Maldini's butler has already gone to invite Qin Haodong. He should be back soon. Chapter 140. After seeing Gao Song, Ho Weigua immediately asked, where's Qin Haodong? Why didn't I see him? Gao Song said nervously, no. I didn't invite him. Ho Weigua said discontentedly, as a deputy director, you can't even invite a person. Well. Facing Ho Weigua's pressure, Gao Song's forehead immediately broke into a cold sweat. He couldn't say a complete sentence. He really didn't have a good reason. If he told the truth, he might lose his job immediately. At this time, old Maldini said to Kyukok, what's going on? Why didn't you invite Dr. Qin? James felt very strange. Qin Haodong had promised to treat old Maldini, but why couldn't he come? He asked, yes, what did my teacher say? Compared to Gao Song, Kyukok was much more honest. He said, it's my fault. I didn't give enough respect to Dr. Qin. As he said, he briefly told how he went to Daddy Security Company to invite Qin Haodong. At last, he said, Master, I'm sorry. My arrogance and rudeness angered Dr. Qin. After listening to him, James immediately got angry, how could you treat my teacher like this? I asked you to invite him, but you threatened my teacher with a red beret and tied him up. Are you crazy? Don't you know you should respect a famous doctor? Kyukok looked guilty and embarrassed. He lowered his head and didn't say anything. Old Maldini's heart was full of shock. He knew very well how strong his bodyguard team was. Even if they fought with the active Red Beret Special Forces, there wouldn't be too much difference. He didn't expect that they would be beaten by a security company in Wuxia. Originally, he only thought that Qin Haodong was a doctor with superb medical skills. Now it seemed that it was not as simple as he thought. After a moment of silence, he said, Kyukok, you made a big mistake. You should apologize to Dr. Qin. Kyukok said, yes, Master. I've realized my mistake. But I apologized to Dr. Qin, but he didn't accept it. He said I didn't have the right to talk to him, and said, speaking of this, he paused, not knowing whether he should repeat Qin Haodong's words or not. What did he say? You have to tell me everything. From the beginning to the end, old Maldini's attitude was very calm, without any anger or dissatisfaction. Dr. Qin said that since you came to Wuxia to seek medical treatment, you should take the initiative to visit, instead of him coming to treat you. He also said that in his eyes, you are not nobler than the beggars in Wuxia. Ho Weiguo frowned slightly. He didn't know what kind of person Qin Haodong was. Qin Haodong was so arrogant that he didn't follow the Wuxia etiquette at all. He didn't take old Maldini seriously, which would definitely irritate this financial magnate. Just as he was about to think about how to calm old Maldini's anger, the fat old man said thoughtfully, Dr. Qin is right. I lack an attitude to seek medical treatment. Besides, everyone is equal. I'm not nobler than a beggar. Seeing that the financial magnate was not angry, Ho Weiguo breathed a sigh of relief. He said, Mr. Maldini, please rest assured. Jiangnan is the hometown of Xinglin. Our medical skills have always been first class in Wuxia. Although Qin Haodong didn't come, we will definitely arrange the best doctor for you. He didn't know what disease old Maldini had, but in his opinion, Qin Haodong was just a college student. Even without him, others could also treat old Maldini. He didn't consider that even the famous experts of the World Medical Association could do nothing about this disease. Ho Weiguo said to Wen Changjiang, have you shown old Maldini's information to the experts in the hospital? Have they made a treatment plan? Wen Changjiang knew about Qin Haodong's magical medical skills, but he didn't have much say in front of so many big shots, so he could only choose to listen in silence. Now hearing the director's question, he said, Director Ho, all the experts in the hospital have consulted. Old Maldini's condition is not serious. It can be easily cured by surgery. But if you want to remove the tumor without surgery, our doctors can't do anything about it. Ho Weiguo had been engaged in medical and health work for so many years, so he had some basic medical knowledge. He knew that Western medicine could do nothing about tumors except surgery. He said, what about traditional Chinese medicine? Can we use traditional Chinese medicine to remove the tumor? Gao Song, who had been dejected, immediately cheered up when he heard Ho Weiguo's words. Director Ho, I have just contacted the 3 best traditional Chinese medicine doctors in Jiangnan City. They will come to Jiangnan Hospital soon. Having been in the officialdom for so many years, he knew very well that if he didn't handle Maldini's matter well this time, his position as deputy director would really come to an end. Even if he had some backing, it would be useless at this time. Because of this, he racked his brains to make up for his mistake. On his way here, he called the 3 most famous traditional Chinese medicine doctors in Jiangnan City and asked them to come to Jiangnan Hospital as soon as possible. Now it just came in handy. As soon as he finished speaking, the door of the VIP room opened and 3 old men in robes came in from outside. They were the 3 senior figures in the traditional Chinese medicine circle in Jiangnan City, Gao Fengwen, Shen Xiangfu, and Zhong Sihai. As the leaders of the medical and health circle, Ho Weiguo and Pan Gaofeng were familiar with these people. After greeting them, Ho Weiguo said to old Maldini, Mr. Maldini, they are all traditional Chinese medicine experts in Jiangnan City. They have great achievements in traditional Chinese medicine. Why don't we let them have a look at you first? Old Maldini said, well, I have long heard about the magic of traditional Chinese medicine. Today I will see it. James didn't take it seriously. In his heart, traditional Chinese medicine only recognized Qin Haodong. In his eyes, no one else could be compared with his teacher. After the preparation, Gao Fengwen and the other 2 felt old Maldini's pulse one by one. After 10 minutes, Ho Weiguo said to them, everyone, how is it? Gao Fengwen took the lead and said, if I'm not wrong, there should be a tumor in this gentleman's head, which often causes headaches. Shen Xiangfu and Zhong Sihai also nodded. They agreed with the diagnosis. Ho Weiguo looked happy and asked, since you can diagnose it, I believe there must be a way to cure it. Gao Fengwen shook his head and said, the best way to treat this kind of tumor disease is surgery of Western medicine. There is no good way for traditional Chinese medicine. Ho Weigua asked disappointedly, because of some special reasons, this gentleman can't receive surgery. Is there no other way for traditional Chinese medicine? For example, using traditional Chinese medicine to eliminate the tumor. Shen Xiangfu said, that's too difficult. Chow Chow had a tumor in his head that often caused headaches. Hua Tuo, the miracle-working doctor, couldn't do anything except surgery. Of course, there is nothing we can do. James said, as I said, no one can cure this disease except my teacher. Now everyone was silent. After a while, Ho Weigua said, well, I'll go in person. I believe Qin Haodong will give me some face. Old Maldini said, Director Ho, I'd better go by myself. Dr. Qin is right. You should look like you're asking for a doctor. After that, he stood up and said to Kyukok, you lead the way. Let's go to Dr. Qin together. Remember to sincerely apologize later. Old Maldini and the others set off. Ho Weigua, Pan Gaofeng, and the others naturally couldn't stay in the hospital. They followed them to Daddy Security Company. Even Gao Fengwen and the other two were very curious. They wanted to see who could cure Maldini's tumor, so they also drove with the team. When they parked their cars and were ready to enter Daddy Security Company, they were stopped by two security guards. Qin Haodong had predicted that old Maldini would come to the company to see him, so he asked Zhang Tiniu to guard the door. Seeing so many people coming, Zhang Tiniu stepped forward and asked, who are you? What are you doing here? Ho Weigua said, I'm Ho Weigua, the director of the Department of Sanity. I'm here to bring distinguished guests to see Qin Haodong. My boss is eating. Come with me. After that, Zhang Tiniu led old Maldini and the others to the door of the cafeteria. Wait here. I'll go in and inform him. Zhang Tiniu entered the cafeteria and soon came back. My boss said he's eating with his daughter. He asked you to wait for a while. Ho Weigua frowned and said to him, go tell Qin Haodong that Mr. Maldini is here. Ask him to come out as soon as possible. Don't waste Mr. Maldini's precious time. Zhang Tiniu said, our boss knows who is coming. But he said that no matter how precious Mr. Maldini's time is, it's not as precious as the time he spends with his daughter. If he can wait, then wait. If not, then leave. Qin Haodong did predict that it was old Maldini. But as he said, he should have the attitude of seeking medical treatment. No matter how important it was, he couldn't let it affect him eating with the little fellow. In the eyes of others, old Maldini was a world financial magnate with a high status. But in the eyes of Emperor Greenwood, he couldn't even compare with his daughter's little finger. Ho Weigua's face became more and more gloomy. He was about to say something. Old Maldini said, Mr. Ho, forget it. We're here to see Dr. Qin, so we should wait. Isn't there a story in Wuxia about 3 visits to the thatched cottage? Mr. Qin only asked us to wait for a while. In comparison, we're already very happy. The old man was indeed broad-minded. After saying that, he laughed happily. Since old Maldini had no objection, Ho Weigua, Pan Gaofeng, and the others had to wait with him. It was noon. The sun was scorching and the air was hot. There was no air conditioner outside the cafeteria, so Ho Weigua and the others were soon sweating. Sweat kept running down old Maldini's bald head, but he still looked calm. He waited quietly while wiping his sweat. Ho Weigua looked at the old man and secretly admired him. No wonder he could achieve far more success than ordinary people. His endurance was not comparable to ordinary people. About half an hour later, the door opened. Qin Haodong came out with the little fellow in his arms, followed by Ma Wenjue and the others. Hello, teacher. James immediately came over and saluted Qin Haodong like a primary school student. Qin Haodong nodded. He was very satisfied with the student's attitude. He handed the little fellow to Nalan Wushuang to take a nap. Then he said to the others, "Come with me." Chapter 141. James quickly said, "Teacher, you forgot that I brought Mr. Maldini here to see you." "Of course I remember, but I won't treat him." After hearing what he said, the faces of the people present changed. In many people's view, Maldini came all the way to Wuxia to seek medical treatment, which was absolutely to give face to traditional Chinese medicine in Qinhaodong. They didn't expect that this young man would turn against him and say he would not treat him. Old Maldini was really shrewd. After hearing what Qinhaodong said, his expression still didn't change much. But James was anxious and stepped forward and said, "Teacher, didn't you say that you would treat Mr. Maldini?" Qinhaodong said lightly, "I did say that, but it was yesterday. Just now, the deputy director named Gao Song said that he would remove me from Jiangnan Medical College and asked me to get rid of my daughter. His power scared me, so I can't treat him now." After entering the door, Gao Song had been shrinking in the corner, hoping that Qinhaodong could forget him. After hearing Qinhaodong's words, his face turned pale. His face was drained of all color. He knew that his career was over. After hearing what Qinhaodong said, everyone knew what had happened. No wonder Qinhaodong was angry. It turned out that Gao Song, the brainless guy, provoked him. Pan Gaofeng turned to Gao Song and said angrily, "Did you say that?" "Director. I thought." Gaofeng originally wanted to say that he thought Qinhaodong was just an ordinary student who went to the hospital to do odd jobs, so he showed off his power as a deputy director. But he couldn't say that. As the director of the Department of Sanity, it was the first time that Ho Weigua had been turned away. He had been holding back his anger just now. Now he knew what the problem was, so he immediately vented his anger on Gao Song. "From now on, you're dismissed. Now go back and write a self-reflection, and wait for further treatment tomorrow." Ho Weigua's sentence sentenced Gao Song's career to death. Gao Song now regretted it very much. He climbed to the position of deputy director by relying on many connections. Just because he showed off his power and pretended to be a little B*tch, he was first slapped in the face by Qinhaodong, and then he thought about revenge. He didn't expect that Qinhaodong just took off his title of deputy director. At this moment, he knew that it was useless to say anything more, so he could only leave the security company dejectedly. After Gao Song left, Pan Gaofeng came to Qinhaodong and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. I made a mistake today. We will deal with Gao Song seriously. Please don't affect the treatment of Mr. Maldini." Qinhaodong didn't say anything but turned to look at old Maldini. "Dr. Qin, I came to seek medical treatment this time. It was indeed a little impolite. Please forgive me." This financial magnate, who was admired by thousands of people, took the initiative to apologize to Qinhaodong. "Dr. Qin, my butler Qukok offended you, and he is going to apologize to you personally." With that, he turned his head and called out to the door, "Come in." No one understood old Maldini's intention. They all looked at the door and saw Qukok walk in as soon as the door was opened. Different from before, he had taken off his expensive tuxedo and was bare-chested, with a wooden stick stuck in his back. Everyone immediately understood that this foreigner was learning from the illusions of the history of Wuxia. He was apologizing to Qinhaodong in such a unique way. Qukok came directly to Qinhaodong and knelt down. He said respectfully, "Mr. Qin, I offended you. Please punish me." He apologized from the bottom of his heart this time. As a butler, Qukok always admired the strong. At this time, he was completely convinced by Qinhaodong. Looking at this funny foreigner, Qinhaodong was amused. But he also saw Qukok's sincere attitude of apologizing, and the last bit of unhappiness in his heart had vanished. "Well, you can go now. This matter is over. Remember to learn to respect people in the future." I don't care about other places, but you must do it in Huaxiao. Thank you, Dr. Qin. I got it. Kyukok said respectfully. Even if Qin Haodong didn't say it, he had learned his lesson. A security guard of a security company in Huaxia had beaten his red beret badly. This was definitely a magical place, and he couldn't do whatever he wanted. Gao Fengwen and the other two were dumbfounded. They didn't understand why this young man could be so arrogant and make the foreigner so obedient. Qin Haodong didn't know what they were thinking. After Kyukok left, he said to old Maldini in Ho Weigua, James has told me about your situation. It's not a big problem to cure it with traditional Chinese medicine, but I have 3 conditions. After that, Gao Fengwen and the other two sneered even more. They were all experts in traditional Chinese medicine, and they had seen old Maldini's condition. They would never believe that the tumor could be removed without surgery. Even the miracle-working Huatua couldn't do it, so they didn't believe that this young man could do it. Old Maldini said, Dr. Qin, as long as you can cure my disease, I'll agree to 30 conditions, not to mention 3. Qin Haodong said, the first condition is to get me a physician's qualification certificate. The day before yesterday, Zhao Zhongchen had mentioned that he didn't have a physician's qualification certificate at the board meeting of Lin's group. Since there was a suitable opportunity today, he could solve this problem. Otherwise, no matter how good his medical skills were, he would be regarded as practicing medicine illegally. After all, it wouldn't look good. Gao Fengwen almost choked to death by his own saliva. This guy just promised that he could cure it, but in the end, he didn't even have a physician's qualification certificate. He was practicing medicine illegally here. Seeing this, he couldn't hold back his anger anymore. He stepped forward and shouted, that's enough, young man. You can fool around, but don't involve traditional Chinese medicine. Now many people say that traditional Chinese medicine is a fraud, and it's people like you who fool around. Qin Haodong glanced at the white-bearded old man and said, Sir, I really can cure this disease. Why do you say that I'm fooling around? Impossible. I've studied traditional Chinese medicine all my life. You can't fool me. Gao Fengwen said angrily. I can cure it, and it's up to you whether you believe me or not. Qin Haodong ignored Gao Fengwen and turned to old Maldini. How about it? Can you accept this condition? James hurriedly said, Mr. Old Maldini, please believe me. Although my teacher doesn't have a physician's qualification certificate, his medical skills are absolutely first class. I guarantee it with my reputation as an expert of the World Medical Association. Old Maldini smiled and said, I believe you. Gao Fengwen and the other 2 old men were so angry that they stamped their feet. They thought that these 2 foreigners were really crazy and believed everything. Old Maldini turned to Ho Weigua and said, Mr. Ho, I'm not sure about the physician's qualification certificate in your country. Could you do me a favor? Before Ho Weigua came here, he had received special instructions from the Ministry of Health of Huaxia, asking him to cooperate with old Maldini and try his best to meet the old man's requirements. After listening to him, he said to Pan Gaofeng, Director Pan, can this be done? If it's a physician's qualification certificate of Western medicine, it's definitely not possible. But the physician's qualification certificate of Chinese medicine has a special approval procedure. As long as 3 Chinese medicine experts recommend it and I sign it, it can be issued immediately. Now we happen to have Gao Fengwen, Shen Xiangfu, and Zhong Sihai here. As long as they agree, we can immediately issue Qin Haodong a physician's qualification certificate. No, we don't agree. Gao Fengwen shouted excitedly, every Chinese medicine doctor has to go through serious study and strict training. Without a few years of practice, he can't treat people at all. If we issue him a physician's qualification certificate, it's simply a joke to Chinese medicine. Shen Xiangfu also shouted, that's right. If we issue a physician's qualification certificate to such an arrogant guy who only knows how to brag, it's absolutely a disgrace to Chinese medicine. It'll affect the development of Chinese medicine in Wuxia and even in the world. He was over 70 years old this year. Maybe because he was too excited, he threw his glasses to the ground and broke them. Qin Haodong looked at the old man speechlessly. He thought to himself, I didn't jump into a well with your grandson. Why are you so excited? At the same time, he knew that if he didn't show his skills, many people present would not be convinced. Shen Xiangfu had a high degree of presbyopia and astigmatism. After his glasses fell, he immediately saw a vast expanse of white in front of him and couldn't see anything clearly. He was about to bend down to find his glasses when Qin Haodong came in front of him. Qin Haodong's hands moved as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen silver needles were inserted into the major acupoints on his head. What are you doing? Do you think you can use silver needles like this? Zhong Sihai had been by Shen Xiangfu's side all the time. When he saw Qin Haodong insert more than a dozen silver needles into his old friend's head, he immediately became furious. After scolding Qin Haodong, he reached out to help Shen Xiangfu remove the needles. However, as soon as he reached out, Shen Xiangfu immediately shouted, "Don't move, don't move." Zhong Sihai said, "Old Shen, are you confused? If this kind of silver needle stays on your head for too long, it will cause harm to you." However, Shen Xiangfu didn't pay attention to what he said at all. Instead, he shouted excitedly, "I saw it, I really saw it." It turned out that since Qin Haodong's silver needles were inserted into the major acupoints on his head, his eyes became brighter and brighter, and his blurred vision became clearer and clearer. Later, his vision was even better than wearing glasses. As a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, he naturally understood the effect of acupuncture at this time. He turned his head and bowed deeply to Qin Haodong, saying, "Dr. Qin, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you just now. Such superb medical skills, I, Shen Xiangfu, am inferior to you. Even if I practice for another 100 years, I can't reach your medical skills. It's simply a magic skill." Qin Haodong reached out and took back all the silver needles on the old man's head. He said with a smile, "How about it? Do you still think I'm ashamed of traditional Chinese medicine?" Shen Xiangfu bowed to Qin Haodong again, "I'm sorry, it was my fault just now. Your medical skills are absolutely the pride of traditional Chinese medicine." Seeing the leading doctors of traditional Chinese medicine in Jiangnan City bow and apologize to a young man one after another, even using the honorific title, the people around were stunned. Shen Xiangfu raised his head and said to everyone, "I've been suffering from blurred vision and astigmatism for decades. This kind of disease can't be cured by my medical skills at all. But just in a few minutes, Dr. Qin has cured me. This kind of medical skills is something that I, Shen Xiangfu, have never seen in more than 70 years of life." Zhong Sihai said with a shocked face, "Old Shen, is what you said true?" Shen Xiangfu said, "Of course it's true. Would I lie about this kind of thing?" Chapter 142. Rejuvenative Acupuncture. Qin Haodong said, "The root cause of presbyopia and astigmatism is aging and even pathological changes in the eye tissues. I just repaired the tissues in Mr. Shen's eyes with the rejuvenative acupuncture, so his vision can return to normal." After getting the answer, Gao Fengwen cried excitedly, "Rejuvenative acupuncture. Oh my God, it's really the rejuvenative acupuncture. I didn't expect to see such a magical acupuncture technique in my lifetime." In the field of traditional Chinese medicine, he had always been famous for his acupuncture technique. He had read about the rejuvenative acupuncture in ancient books, which was known as the king of acupuncture. Other acupuncture techniques could only dredge the meridians, but the rejuvenative acupuncture could repair the injured tissues and meridians, so it was not an exaggeration to call it a magic technique. When Qin Haodong used it just now, he felt a little similar, but he couldn't believe it, because this acupuncture technique had been lost for many years, and he had never heard of anyone using it in modern Chinese medicine. Dr. Qin, I didn't expect your medical skills to be so high that you could use the rejuvenative acupuncture. With this acupuncture technique, from now on, you will be the leader in the field of traditional Chinese medicine in the south of the Yangtze River. Qin Haodong had shocked the three old men in front of him by casually showing his acupuncture skills. Not only Gao Fengwen and the other two, but also the other people next to them were stunned. Ho Weiguo, in particular, was very puzzled that old Maldini came all the way to Wuxia to seek medical treatment from a college student. Now he knew that old Maldini was a real master. Presbyopia and astigmatism were incurable diseases for the current medical level, although they didn't seem serious, but they were cured by Qin Haodong in the blink of an eye. After the shock, Zhong Sihai said, Dr. Qin, you just said that you can cure the tumor in Mr. Maldini's head. Is that true? Of course it's true. How could the person who inherited the rejuvenative acupuncture make irresponsible remarks? This time, before Qin Haodong could say anything, Gao Fengwen became his loyal supporter. Although he still couldn't figure out how Qin Haodong could remove the tumor in old Maldini's head, having the rejuvenative acupuncture was already a miracle, and it was not surprising that this young man could create another miracle. His initial doubts about Qin Haodong's treatment of old Maldini had turned into expectations. He was looking forward to seeing what kind of amazing magical means Qin Haodong would show. Zhong Sihai reacted and said, yes, you're right. The successor of the rejuvenative needle wouldn't talk nonsense. He then said to Qin Haodong, Dr. Qin, when will you start treating patients? The few of us old men are waiting to broaden our horizons. Qin Haodong did not speak, but turned to look at Pan Gaofeng next to him. Only then did Gao Fengwen and the other two remember the conditions that Qin Haodong had just put forward. They quickly said, Director Pan, we three old men are willing to be Dr. Qin's recommenders. With the recommendation of Gao Fengwen and the other two, the procedure of issuing the physician's qualification certificate became legal and compliant. Pan Gaofeng immediately arranged for a nearby health bureau staff member to go back to the bureau as soon as possible. Then, he quickly sent the certificate to Qin Haodong. The first condition was settled. Old Maldini said to Qin Haodong, Dr. Qin, please tell me your second condition. Compared with a moment ago, there was a trace of expectation in his eyes. He had only heard about Qin Haodong's medical skills from James before, but now he had seen it with his own eyes. Qin Haodong could cure presbyopia and astigmatism with a few needles. Even though he had experienced countless storms, he could not help but admire this kind of magical medical skill. Qin Haodong said, the second condition is the consultation fee. If you want to cure your disease, you need to pay 100 million yuan for the consultation fee. There was still a big gap in the funds for Ma Wenshua's development in Shanghai. Now that the world-famous financial giant had taken the initiative to come to him, Qin Haodong would feel sorry for himself if he did not do it. Moreover, the consultation fee was nothing to him. In the cultivation world, the consultation fee for inviting Emperor Greenwood to treat him was absolutely sky-high. However, the others were all shocked, especially Ho Weiguo and Pan Gaofeng. They were all extremely shocked. They had never heard of a consultation fee of 100 million yuan before. Ho Weiguo said, Dr. Qin, isn't the price too high? There is no such expensive consultation fee in the world. Qin Haodong said lightly, I'm the only one in the world who can cure it. His confident and domineering words made Ho Weiguo speechless. The fact that old Maldini came to Wuxia from the World Medical Association, where there were many famous doctors, was enough to prove that no one else could cure his disease. Old Maldini said happily, Dr. Qin, no problem. As long as you can cure my disease, 100 million yuan is nothing. He was a financial magnate who was in charge of hundreds of billions of dollars. 100 million yuan was indeed not a big number in his eyes. At the same time, he was an old man who was approaching the end of his life. No amount of money was more important than health. Since old Maldini had agreed, the others naturally would not say anything. Dr. Qin, tell me your third condition. Old Maldini said eagerly. The third condition is that Mr. Maldini needs to announce to the world the news that you came to Wuxia for medical treatment in well-known media. Let the world know that it was our traditional Chinese medicine that cured your disease. After Qin Haodong said that, many people present became eager. Whether it was the officials of the health system, such as Ho Weiguo and Pan Gaofeng, or the old traditional Chinese medicine doctors, such as Gao Fengwen and Zhong Sihai, they all understood the great significance of Qin Haodong's condition. It was simply put forward for the sake of traditional Chinese medicine. In recent years, the status of traditional Chinese medicine in the world had become more and more embarrassing, especially overseas. Many countries did not recognize the legal status of traditional Chinese medicine. Some people even said that traditional Chinese medicine was a fraud, witchcraft, and pseudoscience. However, if old Maldini, a world-renowned financial tycoon, stood out to speak for him, it would undoubtedly boost the reputation of traditional Chinese medicine to a great extent and elevate the status of traditional Chinese medicine. The value of such a huge advertising effect was far higher than the medical fee of 100 million just now. This time, old Maldini was a little hesitant. He said, Dr. Qin, you know that my coming to Wuxia for medical treatment is highly confidential. If it is spread out, it will have a huge impact on the world economy. So, can you change the condition? Qin Haodong said, Mr. Maldini, you misunderstood me. I don't want you to release the news to the world now. I want you to complete this condition after you recover from the treatment. By then, your body will be fine, and releasing the news will not cause any negative impact. That's no problem. I agree to this condition. Old Maldini said straightforwardly. If Qin Haodong could really cure the tumor in his head, he was also willing to do a free publicity for traditional Chinese medicine. Well, let's start the treatment now. After saying that, Qin Haodong left the reception room with old Maldini and went to his consulting room. James, Gao Fengwen, Ho Weiguo, and Pan Gaofeng came with them. The others were waiting in the reception room. His consulting room was completely different from that of Western medicine. It looked very simple, with a desk, a few chairs, a bed, and some simple medical equipment of traditional Chinese medicine. Old Maldini looked around and asked, Dr. Qin, are you going to treat me here? Yes, this is the place, Qin Haodong replied. Is the accommodation here a little bad? Old Maldini asked. Accommodation? You can be cured in half an hour at most. Why do you want to stay here? Old Maldini said in surprise, Qin, did I hear that right? You said you can cure me in half an hour. Half an hour is more than enough. I think it will take 20 minutes. Oh my God, are you serious? Did I meet God? Old Maldini couldn't believe it. If it weren't for James guaranteeing Qin Haodong's magical medical skills, he would have thought that he had met a liar. Shen Xiangfu asked, Dr. Qin, what method are you going to use? He still hadn't figured out what method Qin Haodong could use to cure the brain tumor without surgery, which was beyond his knowledge. Of course it's the old methods of traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture and cupping. Qin Haodong said as he took out 3 glass jars commonly used in traditional Chinese medicine and let old Maldini lie on the bed. This. Gao Fengwen and the other 2 old men looked at each other with an incredulous look. They had used acupuncture and cupping countless times, but they had never heard of it being able to treat a head tumor within 20 minutes. After he was ready, Qin Haodong began to treat old Maldini. The old man's barren head now showed its advantage. There was no hair on his head, so he didn't have to shave it when he cupped. He first pierced a dozen silver needles into the acupoints on Maldini's head. Then he took a glass jar, injected green with genuine qi into it, and buckled it into the Baihui acupoint on the top of his head. Then, he buckled the other 2 glass jars into the temples on both sides. Seeing this, Gao Fengwen and the other 2 old men were puzzled. They had done cupping for others countless times, but it required a fire source to heat up the temperature in the glass jar so that it could be buckled on the body. However, Qin Haodong just took it and buckled it casually. It seemed that the glass jar was very firm. They really couldn't figure out how he did it. After that, Qin Haodong put his right hand on old Maldini's dantian and slowly injected greenwood genuine qi into it. Everyone watched nervously, wondering if Qin Haodong's seemingly strange method could really cure the tumor. In fact, Qin Haodong had used this method to treat tumors more than once in the cultivation world. The basic principle was to melt the tumor into liquid impurities with greenwood genuine qi, and then force the impurities into the fire jar through the detoxification and body-quenching needles, and finally remove them from the body. The tumor on old Maldini's head was not too big. It was only the size of an egg yolk, so it was not difficult to treat. Soon, Gao Fengwen and the others saw a drop of black liquid flowing out of the Baihui acupoint and into the glass jar. Then, black liquid also flowed out of the temples on both sides. At first, there was only 1 or 2 drops, and then there was more and more. The onlookers were amazed, but they couldn't understand what Qin Haodong was doing. About 15 minutes later, Qin Haodong had cleared all the tumors on old Maldini's head, 5 minutes faster than expected. He withdrew his right hand and pulled out all the silver needles in his head. At this time, there was some black liquid in the 3 glass jars, all of which were the impurities after the tumor melted. He took down the glass jars and threw them into the trash can nearby. Chapter 143. Really? Is that true? Old Maldini sat up from the bed with an incredulous look on his face. He just felt a warm and comfortable feeling in his head, but he never thought that the tumor could be cured in this way. Qin Haodong said, "Of course it's true. I can ask James to take you to do the examination now." Old Maldini was rich and old, so he usually traveled in 2 motor homes. One was for him, and the other was full of all kinds of medical equipment. It was almost like a small hospital. In everyone's expectation, James took old Maldini to the motor home to do a head X-ray examination. The private doctor in the motor home was very efficient. About 10 minutes later, the examination result was sent to James. Seeing the examination result in his hand, James still jumped with excitement, although he had some mental preparation. "Oh my God, Mr. Maldini, look, your tumor is really gone. It disappeared magically, as if it had never appeared." James said to Qin Haodong excitedly, "Teacher, your medical skills are really amazing. I really feel honored to be your disciple." Ho Weigua and Pan Gaofeng were more happy than shocked. Qin Haodong cured old Maldini, which was absolutely a great achievement for the officials of the Department of Health. He had successfully completed the task assigned by the superiors. Gao Fengwen and the other 2 old men were the most shocked. The more they knew about medical skills, the more they knew how amazing Qin Haodong was. Compared with Western medicine, the elimination of tumors was definitely the weakness of traditional Chinese medicine. There might be some methods for other parts of the body, but there was nothing they could do for tumors in the head. However, Qin Haodong had just taught them a lesson with his superb medical skills. He could cure tumors in the head without surgery. It looked very simple, without any side effects, and the patient would not feel any pain. "Dr. Qin, how did you do it? Can you tell us?" "Dr. Qin, why don't you also take me as your disciple?" "Yes, Dr. Qin, we would also like to be your disciple, as long as you are willing to teach us medical skills." At this time, the scene looked extremely strange. 3 old men in their 70s and 80s, the leading figures of traditional Chinese medicine in Jiangnan City, were already white-haired, but they surrounded a young man in his 20s, scrambling to be apprenticed to him. No one would believe it if they told others. Qin Haodong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said to the 3 old men, "3 old men, you are so old. How can you worship me as your master?" Gao Fengwen said sincerely, "It's nothing. There's an old saying in Wuxia that the more capable one is the teacher. Your medical skills are almost divine. You're good enough to be our teacher. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "You can't learn my medical skills." Looking at the unwillingness and disappointment on the faces of the three old men, he explained, "In ancient Chinese medicine and martial arts are inseparable. My medical skills are completely based on internal qi. You three have never practiced internal qi, so even if I teach you the method, you won't be able to use it." The three old men were still a little disappointed, but there was nothing they could do about it. At their age, it was too late to practice inner force even if they wanted to. Gao Fengwen sighed and said, "What a pity. It would be great if we could meet Dr. Qin 60 or 70 years earlier." Qin Haodong was speechless. What was this old man thinking? 60 or 70 years earlier, when his parents weren't even born. After sighing, Gao Fengwen continued, "But with your medical skills, you're definitely a sage in Wuxia. I don't think it's enough to call you Dr. Qin, so we'll call you medical sage from now on." "Yes, we'll call you medical sage from now on." Shen Xiangfu and Zhong Sihai also echoed. Medical sage. That's a good name. I'll be the medical sage's disciple from now on. James shouted. At this time, old Maldini had recovered from the surprise. He came to Qin Haodong and said, "Mr. Medical Sage, thank you for curing my disease. You'll be my friend forever." Old Maldini had been in business for decades, but he didn't have many people he called friends. Most of them were business partners. Today, he treated Qin Haodong as a friend from the bottom of his heart. On the one hand, he was grateful to Qin Haodong for curing his tumor. On the other hand, as an old man over 80 years old, he really wanted to make friends with such a magical doctor. At this time, Qin Haodong was definitely more important to him than the head of state. He was a person who could save his life at a critical time. After that, he waved his hand to an assistant behind him. The assistant immediately took out a checkbook. Old Maldini wrote a check of 100 million yuan and handed it to Qin Haodong. "Mr. Medical Sage, this is the reward you deserve. Please accept it." Qin Haodong didn't hesitate to accept the medical fee he deserved. He took the check and put it in his pocket. Old Maldini said again, "Mr. Medical Sage, I also want to ask if there's any good way for people of my age to improve their physique." This was the question he was most concerned about. For him, living more years was far more important than making more money. Naturally, he had to ask this question when he met a medical expert like Qin Haodong. "Of course there's a way," Qin Haodong said. "What is it? Can you teach me?" Old Maldini said eagerly. Qin Haodong took out a physique-improving pill and said, "This is an elixir I made exclusively. If you take one, you'll be strong and healthy for a year and won't get sick." "That's great. Mr. Medical Sage, how many of these pills do you have? I want them all." Looking at the pills in Qin Haodong's hand, old Maldini lost his usual calmness. He wanted to grab them immediately. "Mr. Maldini, the raw materials of these pills are very precious and there are not many of them. There are only 3 of them. They cost 10 million yuan each. 3 pills cost 30 million yuan. Ho Weigua and Pan Gaofeng were speechless. Qin Haodong's medical skills were undoubtedly the best they had ever seen in their lives, but the price was too high. 10 million yuan. Most people had never seen so much money in their lives. However, old Maldini acted like he had picked up a big bargain. He quickly took the checkbook and wrote a check of 50 million yuan and gave it to Qin Haodong. "Mr. Medical Sage, here's 50 million yuan. The other 20 million yuan is the reservation fee. When you develop this kind of pill again, you must sell it to me first. The price is negotiable." The old man showed his superior business talent and directly paid a deposit of 20 million yuan. Qin Haodong took the check. Together with the tens of millions he had won in the auction of Lin's group, Ma Wenjua's money for starting a business in Shanghai had been settled. He had earned 200 million yuan in 2 days, which was absolutely shocking. He gave the 3 physique-improving pills to old Maldini and said, "I've completely cured your disease. Don't forget your promise." "Don't worry, Mr. Medical Sage. I'm most concerned about promises. I'll attend an economic forum in Wuxia tonight. At that time, I'll publicly announce to the outside world that it was the medical sage of Wuxia who cured my disease. At the same time, I'll tell the world that Chinese medicine is a magical medical skill." After hearing Maldini's words, Ho Weiguo and Pan Gaofeng were extremely happy. If that was really the case, as medical directors, they would definitely be proud. At this time, Qin Haodong's medical qualification certificate had also been delivered. Ho Weiguo personally handed it to Qin Haodong. At this time, his attitude was very different from before. He said enthusiastically, "Young man, do a good job. You've shown me the hope of Chinese medicine." Everything had been settled. Ho Weiguo and Pan Gaofeng accompanied old Maldini and left the Daddy Security Company. At the same time, in a 5-star hotel in Jiangnan City, Lin Zhigao climbed out of bed and looked back at the coquettish woman who was paralyzed on the bed. He couldn't hide the pride on his face. "Brother Zhigao, you were so fierce last night that I can't get out of bed now." The coquettish woman looked at Lin Zhigao coquettishly. She was really surprised. In the past, even when Lin Zhigao took the blue pill, he was basically like a courier. But last night, he suddenly changed into a different person. She didn't know what kind of tonic he had eaten. "Little s, wait for me. I'll let you have a taste of my power tonight," Lin Zhigao said and left the hotel with a proud face. As an old man over 50 years old, he was really satisfied that he had sex 3 times in one night and made such a woman docile. It seemed that the physique-improving pill was really a good thing. 10 million was not a waste. But thinking that Qin Haodong had trampled on his face in public, he still felt suffocated in his heart. "Little bastard, I'll let you have a taste of my power when I get the chance." Lin Zhigao swore bitterly and then drove back to their villa. After entering the door, he happened to see his son Lin Pingchao sitting in the living room, holding a piece of A4 paper in his hand and looking at it carefully. There was a trace of ruthlessness and pride at the corner of his mouth. Seeing Lin Zhigao enter the door, Lin Pingchao put down the A4 paper in his hand and said, "Dad, you're almost 60 years old. Can you stay at home a little more? Can your body stand going out like this all the time? It's because I'm almost 60 years old that I have to seize the time to enjoy life." Lin Zhigao said excitedly, "You don't have to worry about my body. I bought a physique-improving pill from Qin Haodong yesterday. It really works. After taking it, I feel like I'm 10 years younger." Hearing Lin Zhigao's words, Lin Pingchao's mouth again showed a trace of ruthlessness. Qin Haodong's medical skills are really good, and this guy has some skills. Because of this, we must get rid of him from Lin Momo. Otherwise, he will definitely be a big obstacle for me to sit on the throne of the president. "Yes, you're right. We had a good plan last time, but he came out of nowhere. Otherwise, you'd be sitting on the throne of Lin Momo now. And this guy is too arrogant. He doesn't take us seriously at all. We must teach him a lesson." Lin Pingchao said, "He's doomed to be arrogant for a few days after offending us." Lin Zhigao knew his son was full of ideas. Seeing his son's expression, he asked, "Son, have you already thought of a way to deal with that guy?" Lin Pingchao said gloomily, "Isn't he good at medical skills? Didn't he make friends with those directors by treating patients? Then let's start with medical skills. I've already checked it. He hasn't graduated from Jiangnan Medical University yet. Now he treats patients, which is completely illegal. It's a crime according to the law of Wuxia. He'll be put in jail for at least 3 or 5 years." Lin Zhigao said, "I also know that. Zhao Zhongchen also mentioned it at the last board meeting, but we have no evidence. Chapter 144. Lin Zhigao picked up the A4 paper and looked at it. It was the physician's qualification certificate inquiry certificate issued by the medical system. The one who was inquired was Qin Haodong. There were two results below. No physician's qualification certificate of Western medicine and no physician's qualification certificate of traditional Chinese medicine. Son, where did you get this thing? After reading it, his face suddenly lit up and he cried, Son, this is a good thing. With it, we can send Qin Haodong to prison. Let's see if he dares to be arrogant to us again. Lin Pingchao said, this is the result of the inquiry made by a friend of mine in the health system yesterday. It is absolutely authoritative and has legal effect. With this thing, we can deal with Qin Haodong. Getting rid of Qin Haodong is equal to cutting off Lin Momo's 2 arms. Great, then let's call the police now. I have a friend in the police station. I'll call him right away. Lin Zhigao took out his mobile phone with a smile and was about to call the police. Lin Pingchao stopped him and said, wait, it's not urgent. Why? Isn't it better to send that guy to prison earlier? I get angry when I see him. Lin Zhigao asked in surprise. Lin Pingchao took the A4 paper and said, this is a good card. Since we are going to play, we should play its greatest value. If we arrest Qin Haodong now, it won't affect Lin Momo too much. Moreover, she has the support of the old man. It's not easy to get rid of her position as president. It's a waste of this good card. Lin Zhigao asked, when are you going to arrest him? Tomorrow morning we will hold an emergency meeting of the board of directors. At that time, we will ask the police to arrest Qin Haodong at the meeting place. Then we will find some reporters to expand the report and increase the influence. In this way, we can make the best use of this card. Lin Zhigao asked, what's the difference? We still can't get rid of Lin Momo's position. Lin Pingchao glanced at his father. He was really worried about his son's intelligence. Sometimes he wondered if he was Lin Zhigao's biological son. But he still explained, there are 3 big advantages to doing this. First, arresting Qin Haodong at the meeting can cause a huge blow to Lin Momo. On the one hand, it will destroy her psychological endurance. On the other hand, it will greatly reduce her prestige among the shareholders and disrupt her position. Yes, you are right, son. Is there anything else? Second, after Qin Haodong is arrested, we can hold another vote for the replacement of the president. At that time, Qin Haodong was arrested and sent to prison, so his promise of a half-year supply of raw gemstones was invalid. Since he's in prison, he can no longer treat these shareholders. Since he has no value, the shareholders will certainly not vote for Lin Momo for his sake. The more Lin Pingchao said, the more complacent he became. He continued, thirdly, with the live reports of these media, the whole Jiangnan city will know what happened to Lin's group. It will be a big scandal for a president to appoint a person without a medical qualification certificate as a healthcare doctor. At that time, the old man can't protect her even if he wants to. Good idea. It's really a good idea to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Lin Zhigao clapped his hands and exclaimed, you are smart. You deserve to be my son. The position of president should belong to you. Lin Pingchao said proudly, Dad, go to Zhao Zhongchen now. It's better to let him take the lead in holding the board meeting. Why? I'm also a major shareholder. I can also propose to hold the board meeting. Lin Pingchao looked at his stupid father with disgust and said, anyway, Lin Momo is promoted by the old man. The less we show up, the better. Otherwise, the old man will be unhappy. Besides, we have Zhao Zhongchen, such a pawn, but we don't need him. Got it, son. I'll go to him now and let him propose to hold the board meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Lin Zhigao said and hurried out of the house. Lin Pingchao picked up the red wine glass on the table and took a sip. He murmured, "Lin Momo, you bitch. I can't get rid of you this time." When Qin Haodong returned to Lin's villa with the little fellow, he met Lin Momo who came home from work. But different from the past, Lin Momo looked very serious today. She didn't smile after seeing the little fellow. "Mama, why are you unhappy?" the little fellow asked. "No, Mama is fine. Mama is lying. You look unhappy. Did someone bully you? Tell me. I'll ask Papa to beat him." Lin Momo squeezed out a smile and said, "No one bullied Mama. Go and play with Dumao and Ermao." "Well, I'll play with Dumao and Ermao." The little fellow rode directly on Dumao's neck and rushed into Lin's villa happily. After the little fellow left, Qin Haodong asked, "What's wrong? Are you unhappy with your work?" Lin Momo said with a serious look, "Today, Zhao Zhongchen proposed again to hold a board meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. What's the big deal about holding a board meeting? Why are you so unhappy?" Qin Haodong said indifferently. "It shouldn't be that simple. The last board meeting was just held. Originally, they wanted to initiate a vote for the replacement of the president, but you ruined it. Just a few days later, they proposed it again. I guess there must be a conspiracy behind it." Qin Haodong said, "Do you think you can hold a board meeting? Doesn't it need your approval as the president?" Lin Momo said, "According to the rules of Lin's group, as long as a shareholder holds more than 10% of the shares, he can propose to hold an emergency board meeting at any time. Zhao Zhongchen holds 10% of the shares, so he doesn't need my approval to hold a board meeting." Qin Haodong said, "It doesn't matter. I'll go with you tomorrow. If the old man dares to make trouble again, I'll kick his ass." Lin Momo nodded. Although the little man in front of her was a few years younger than her, as long as she was with Qin Haodong, she would have an inexplicable sense of security. After dinner, as soon as Qin Haodong returned home, he received a call from old Maldini. "Dear medical sage, I've fulfilled my promise to you. I've come to attend the Wuxia Economic Forum. I've been interviewed one by one. I didn't say anything else. I just talked about my treatment experience in Wuxia and introduced the magic of traditional Chinese medicine to the world." The old man was quite efficient. Qin Haodong said with satisfaction, "Mr. Maldini, you're a man who keeps his promise. We'll be friends in the future." "I hope so, too." Old Maldini said happily, "I've asked Qcock to arrange it. My personal interview will be broadcast 3 times in a row on the international channel of Wuxia TV. At the same time, it will be published on major websites and newspapers." "Okay, I see. I'll arrange it tomorrow." Then Qin Haodong hung up the phone. The next morning, after breakfast, Qin Haodong and Lin Momo went to the company together. They walked into the meeting room on time at 10 o'clock. The shareholders in the meeting room seemed to be used to Qin Haodong attending the meeting with Lin Momo. No one raised any objection, including Zhao Zhongchen and Lin Zhigao. All the staff arrived on time. Lin Momo asked, "Director Zhao, what's the matter? You called an emergency board meeting again this time." Zhao Zhongchen said, "There's only one topic for the board meeting today. It's about Qin Haodong's illegal medical practice in our company. He doesn't have a medical qualification certificate at all, but he treats people in our company and sells medicine in public. Yesterday, he held an auction in the infirmary to auction the 3 unlicensed pills in his hand. Director Lin spent 10 million yuan to buy one, but he felt uncomfortable after eating it. I think it's illegal medical practice. It's a crime. It's a very serious problem. The company must eliminate this hidden danger urgently." Lin Momo's heart tightened. It turned out that the old guy came for Qin Haodong again. But her expression didn't change much. She asked coldly, who said that Qin Haodong doesn't have a medical qualification certificate? Don't talk nonsense without evidence. Zhao Zhongqin sneered. He thought to himself, you want to scare me with the last method, but it won't work this time. He took out a piece of A4 paper and slapped it on the table. He said, President Lin, look at this. This is the result of the Sanitary Bureau's investigation. Qin Haodong is practicing medicine illegally. Lin Momo's heart sank. She didn't expect that the old guy had played dirty tricks behind her back and got the result of Qin Haodong's investigation. She glanced at the A4 paper, on which it was clearly written that Qin Haodong didn't have a medical qualification certificate of either Western medicine or Chinese medicine. It was stamped with the official seal of the Sanitary Bureau. This thing had legal effect wherever it was taken. Lin Momo glanced at Qin Haodong and saw that he was still sitting there with a relaxed expression, without the slightest panic. However, since he had taken out the evidence, as the president of the group, she had to make a basic statement. Since things had come to this point, she had no choice but to say, well, since Qin Haodong doesn't have the certificate of medical practice, from today on, he will no longer be a healthcare doctor, but my personal secretary. Zhao Zhongqin sneered and said, President Lin, you really know how to deal with it. Qin Haodong practiced medicine illegally. Instead of holding him accountable, you even promoted him to be your secretary. I'm afraid this is not convincing, is it? Lin Momo frowned and said, what do you want? Zhao Zhongqin said, it's not what I want. It's a crime to practice medicine illegally. Naturally, it should be handed over to the public security organ. That's not good. Lin Momo slapped the table and said angrily, although Qin Haodong hasn't got a medical qualification certificate yet, his medical skills are real. He has cured the diseases of many employees for such a long time. Didn't many directors cure their diseases in his place last time? At this time, Lin Zhigao said with a sullen face, a country has its laws, and a family has its rules. Since he violated the laws of Wuxia, he should bear the corresponding responsibility. And for such a person who doesn't have a medical qualification certificate but cheats everywhere, we can't believe his integrity at all. Naturally, we can't believe his promise to guarantee the supply of raw gemstones for the group within 6 months. So I have 2 proposals. First, Qin Haodong should be handed over to the judicial organ and let the Public Security Department investigate his legal responsibility. Second, as the president of the group, Lin Momo appointed people by nepotism, which led to a huge crisis of Lin's group. So I once again initiated a vote for the replacement of the president in advance. Lin Momo said with a cold face, we can vote. We can let Qin Haodong leave Lin's group, but we can't hand him over to the public security organ. At this point, she could only make a huge concession. In order to save Qin Haodong, she could even give up her position as president. However, Lin Zhigao didn't intend to let Qin Haodong go. He said proudly, it's not up to you to decide. I have reported it before the meeting. The police will be here soon. Chapter 145. Lin Momo's face became more and more gloomy. At this time, she had understood that all this was a conspiracy of Lin Zhigao and his son. If Qin Haodong was taken away at the board meeting, coupled with the media's propaganda, the consequences would be unimaginable. But now, she couldn't stop them even if she wanted to. 2 policemen came in, led by a middle-aged man in his 40s, followed by a young policeman in his 20s. Who is Qin Haodong? The middle-aged policeman asked. He was Zhang Yong, the deputy director of the police station in the jurisdiction of Lin's group. He had a good relationship with Lin Pingchao. This time, Lin Pingchao asked him to teach a lesson to a college student who practiced medicine illegally. It was not difficult at all, so he naturally agreed. That's me. Qin Haodong sat in the chair, not moving at all, still looking calm. Zhang Yong said, you are suspected of practicing medicine illegally. Now come with us. Before Qin Haodong could speak, a female reporter in her 30s next to him said, "Comrade police, can you let us do the interview first, and then you can arrest him?" "Well, hurry up and ask." Zhang Yong agreed without hesitation, because all this was arranged by Lin Pingchao in advance. The female reporter was Li Yuanyuan, a reporter of Jiangnan Metropolis Daily. Lin Pingchao especially gave her a big red envelope. The purpose was to let her completely ruin Lin Momo today, the more influence the better. After getting the consent, Li Yuanyuan turned back to Lin Momo and said, "President Lin, can I ask you a few questions?" As soon as she spoke, the other reporters in their hands pointed at Lin Momo together. Facing this situation, Lin Momo couldn't refuse, so she could only say, "Ask whatever you want." Li Yuanyuan sneered and asked, "President Lin, I heard that Qin Haodong is only a senior student of Jiangnan Medical University, but he was recruited by you to be a healthcare doctor in Lin's group. Don't you know that he doesn't have a medical qualification certificate? Isn't this against the employment principle of Lin's group?" This woman had always been known for her sarcasm in Jiangnan Metropolis Daily. She often asked questions that people could not answer. Today, she played this specialty to the extreme. After saying that, she looked at Lin Momo with a sneer, expecting the beautiful female president to make a fool of herself. Although Lin Momo was a little confused, she had been a president for so many years, so she had the ability to deal with emergencies. She said lightly, "The reason why I appointed Qin Haodong as the healthcare doctor of Lin's group is entirely because of his excellent medical skills. I had a car accident some time ago, and he saved my life." Her answer evaded Li Yuanyuan's attack cleverly. However, Li Yuanyuan obviously didn't want to let go of this question. She continued to ask, "President Lin, you didn't answer my question directly. Do you know that Qin Haodong doesn't have a physician's qualification certificate? I heard that you are in a relationship with him now, or is it because of this that you deliberately allowed him to practice medicine illegally?" This question was much sharper than the previous one. If Lin Momo said that she knew that Qin Haodong didn't have a physician's qualification certificate, but still allowed him to be the healthcare doctor of Lin's group and treat patients, it would be more than just a violation of employment rules. She would bear considerable legal responsibility. Of course, Lin Momo wouldn't fall into Li Yuanyuan's trap. She said, "Reporter, please pay attention to your words. It's not confirmed whether Qin Haodong is practicing medicine illegally or not, and this question is not something that you and I can determine. The police need to show definite evidence." Li Yuanyuan said again, "President Lin, although the legal responsibility needs to be determined by the police, Qin Haodong is still a senior at Jiangnan Medical University. You know that, right?" "Yes, I know that." "Then, a medical university student can't get a physician's qualification certificate before he graduates. This is basic common sense. Don't you know that?" This Li Yuanyuan was really clever. After several questions failed to get results, she retreated in order to advance, and suddenly hit Lin Momo's sore point. It was a well-known problem that Qin Haodong hadn't graduated from college. She couldn't deny it even if she wanted to. Looking at Lin Momo, who was getting more and more nervous, Lin Zhigao, Lin Pingchao and Zhao Zhongchen became more and more complacent. It seemed that they had done a good job today. Through this matter, they could ruin Lin Momo's reputation and make her quit the position of president. After a moment of hesitation, Lin Momo said, "This. I didn't think that much. I only know that Qin Haodong's medical skills are very good, and he is more than enough to be a healthcare doctor. President Lin, you always say that Qin Haodong's medical skills are good, but I really can't imagine how good a student who hasn't graduated from college can be. Can I understand that beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Or can you give me a strong proof?" Li Yuanyuan threw out a series of questions one after another, and each was sharper and more difficult to answer. Especially the last question, it was simply a double-edged sword. If Lin Momo could take out the real case of Qin Haodong saving people, it would only aggravate his crime in the absence of a physician's qualification certificate. But if she couldn't take out an example, she couldn't prove that Qin Haodong's medical skills were good. Lin Pingchao nodded slightly. It seemed that this woman was the right choice, and the money was not spent in vain. She did cause great trouble to Lin Momo. Lin Momo naturally knew the problem. She didn't know whether to answer or not to answer. There is no need for me to come all the way to Huaxiao. After saying that, old Maldini asked the host to check his big head carefully. Then he said, "This doctor cured the tumor in my head with acupuncture and cupping. He cured the tumor in my head with pure traditional Chinese medicine." The host opened his mouth in surprise and asked incredulously, "You mean acupuncture and cupping can cure brain tumors? Are you sure you're not kidding?" Old Maldini said with a smile, "I'm right here. How could it be a joke? I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't experienced it myself. I have to say that traditional Chinese medicine is really amazing, or the doctor who treated me was really amazing." The host hurriedly asked, "Who is the doctor who treated you? Is he a national doctor in the capital of Huaxiao?" "No, it's not like that." Old Maldini waved his hand and then said solemnly, "He's the best doctor I've ever seen in my life, but he hasn't graduated from college yet. He's a senior at Jiangnan Medical University. His name is Qin Haodong, and some people call him Medical Sage." At this point, the host on the big screen and all the audience present were extremely shocked. No one expected that the doctor who cured Maldini was Qin Haodong, who was just in his 20s. On the big screen, the host came to his senses and continued to ask, "Mr. Old Maldini, my question may be a little impolite. Please forgive me. Are you sure you have a tumor in your head? Are you sure you've recovered now? There are many liars in society now. Are you being cheated? A liar who can cheat me hasn't been born yet." Old Maldini seemed to be in a very good mood. After joking with the host, he said, "Dr. Qin Haodong did cure my brain tumor, but as for professional medical questions, let Dr. James answer you." After he said that, the camera changed, and James' face appeared on the big screen. "Mr. James, would you like to introduce yourself?" The host became more and more excited. Although the interview had gone beyond the economic scope, this topic was bound to attract the attention of the world, and the ratings would not decline. On the contrary, they would reach a new high. "Hello, everyone. My name is James. I'm a member of the World Medical Association and a cardiopulmonary expert. At the same time, I have another identity, which is Dr. Qin's apprentice. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.